The following is rated TV MALSV. It contains strong language, violence, and nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion advised.
They tune in when the night is young. Voices rise where the tales are spun. A webcast hums like a beating drum. Chicago Bears where the hearts come from. Bare their souls, let the stories flow. Through the airwaves where the feelings grow. Echoes of passion they'll always show. In the city shadow where the winds blow. Drearing dreams in the fields of green. Talking legends and the plays unseen. Every word strikes like a lightning beam. The bears and the fans, they're the ultimate team. The pulse of the city's pride. Electric beats as the hearts collide. A digital space where love won't hide. For the bears, we're all along for the ride. Bare their souls, let the stories flow. Through the airways where the feelings grow. Echoes of passion they'll always show. In the city shadow where the winds blow. The mic's alive and the rhythm's tight. Voices dance in the neon light. Sharing tales that ignite the night. Chicago Bears forever inside. Young voices rise where the tales are spun. A webcast hums like a beating drum. Chicago Bears where the hearts come from. Bare their souls, let the stories flow. Through the airwaves where the feelings grow. Echoes of passion they'll always show. In the city shadow where the winds blow. Drearing dreams in the fields of green. Talking legends and the plays unseen. Every word strikes like a lightning beam. The bears and the fans, they're the ultimate team. The pulse of the city's pride. Electric beats as the hearts collide. A digital space where love won't hide. For the bears, we're all along for the ride. Bare their souls, let the stories flow. Through the airways where the feelings grow. Echoes of passion they'll always show. In the city shadow where the winds blow. The mic's alive and the rhythm's tight. Voices dance in the neon light. Sharing tales that ignite the night. Chicago Bears forever inside.
I'm so fucking scared right now. You shut up.
Welcome, everyone, to Bare Their Souls on Wednesday, July 9th. Before I bring the guys in, I just want to tell you how fucking happy I am. I am happy because I am starting to smell that grass at Hallis Hall. I'm happy because the echoes of the pads colliding at Hallis Hall are starting to ring in my ears. And I'm happy because tonight we've got a very special announcement about the show moving forward. And I think we're going to have a great Bears State of Affairs, as we always do, from this gentleman here named Johnny Santucci. How are you, John?
I'm doing good. I think you're cribbing from my notes. Got the smell of football grass.
Oh,
yeah, a little Bear State of Affairs tonight.
Well, you and I grew up with NFL films, John Facenda, and that's where that comes from, you know, the smell of the grass, the sounds of the game, and so forth. And speaking of sound,
the frozen tundra.
Exactly. And speaking of sounds, this gentleman here, Steven Zimmerman, is officially a part of Bears State of Affairs. I want to welcome him to the team with open arms. I've known him for years. I love the guy. Zim, welcome to Bear State of Affairs, officially.
Bare Their Souls, actually. You're right,
that's what I meant.
Yeah, I mean, either or. It all works.
Either's fine, yeah. We haven't changed the show's name yet.
I've had 3 of these, so that will not be the only mistake I've had.
I'm on my first. So I bought some new beer for the show tonight. It's called Pink Fluffy Unicorns Dancing on Rainbows.
Man.
The name was too good not to grab it. So we'll see what it tastes like. I have no idea what this beer is.
I've heard that saying before. It's what's it from? Is it from a song or movie?
I have no idea. I'll read the can when I crack one open.
No, I mean that. Yeah, it's from like a song or music video.
Yeah, but hey, thank you guys for having me on. You know, both in the past and here moving forward. You know, I've been trying to weasel my way onto a Bears show with this network for a long time. So
yes,
all right. Good
I'm ecstatic to be a part of it. What's that?
Good things come to those who wait.
Hey, apparently, I just had to be patient. Wait for enough of you guys to decide. You know what? We're not doing this anymore. The quality had to degrade low enough for Elder to finally get to me on the pecking order.
Well, see, that's the thing, is that the deciding factor for Tucci and myself to welcome you on to the show as a regular is the fact that we know you are going to elevate the show, not only with your football knowledge, and the fact that you and I and you and Tooch don't always agree on stuff. And so I foresee there being some good debates about certain aspects of the Chicago Bears football team, but also because of your creative skills. And one of the things that has really, really made this a win-win for us is because I think that over this next season, we are going to see Steven Zimmerman start to use his musical skills, something that he's been doing for many, many years, and integrate that into the show. And I'm really excited about that, which is why I put together this.
It's time for John's Bears State of Affairs. He got no.
And clearly that's the wrong one.
Zimmerman and the hard rockin' style. Undiscovered music genius. Zimmerman and the Chicago Bears. Bet on Chicago Bears. Take me to Soldier Field, the only place that I feel alive. And every time I leave, a little part of me dies. Hard rockin' style of a man named Zimmerman. Hard rockin' style of a man named Zimmerman.
Woo! My man, Zim!
Well, thank you.
Zim, and for me personally, you and I got together for a Bears game at the parking lot, which is like 2 miles southwest of Soldier Field.
Mm-hmm.
You actually turned me on to some reefer I had not smoked in many, many years. And here Zim says, "Hey, you want to smoke with me?" I said, "Fuck it, I'll do it." and I got really fucking high. And on the bus ride to the stadium, I started to look at you and I started to say, holy shit, I think I'm freaking out here. Welcome, brother.
That was one of the strangest bus rides of my life, man.
That was. It was like they were taking us to Cook County Jail.
Well, it was
Soldier
it was
Field.
somehow like the longest and shortest bus ride I've ever been on.
Yes, indeed, indeed. And by the way, we've got a lot to talk about regarding bus rides to Soldier Field or to Arlington Heights. We got a lot to talk about training camp and tickets and so forth. We got a lot to talk about this Bears offense. We got a lot to talk about pop culture, but we always start the show with this gentleman here in the middle, Johnny Santucci, and he's got something called Bear State of Affairs. Now, Zimmerman, who has been telling me, you know, this fucking music that you got for Tucci is a little too fucking aggressive, man. Can you tone it down a little bit? So I tried. Here it comes.
It's time for John's Bears State of Affairs. He got nothing but truth bombs about the Bears. He tells it like it is and always has, with no agenda, just a little pizza. Sit back, light it up, and crack open a beer. It's time for John's Bears State of Affairs. State of Affairs. It's time for John Bears State of Affairs. State of Affairs. It's time for John's Bears State of Affairs. State of Affairs. It's time for John's Bears State of Affairs.
That was great. I think I see Aaron Mikulski in the chat room. He said I'm coming live from Aaron's basement.
Oh, I love it. He's got
Yeah.
a new name, Saint Pendulous.
Yeah. We gotta have Aaron back on the show.
For sure.
All right, Bears State of Affairs. Here we go. Bears 2025 offseason, week 26. What's happening, Barflies? Well, yeah. Woohoo! Yeah, well, Bears training camp tickets became available this morning. Yeah. Every year, the Bears make the free training camp tickets available to their fans on a first-come, first-serve basis. Yeah, the first open practice date, it's July 25th. Guess what, Aldo?
What?
I got a picture of the person who got the first ticket.
There he is.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, first in line, Steven Zimmerman. Yeah. Woo, celebrating in more ways than one tonight. Yep. Yeah, watch out. Steven Zimmerman is coming to town. Yeah. Soon the Bears will be getting ready for the 2025 NFL season. Yeah, there'll be no shortage of drama as players battle for roster spots. As well, annual Bears Family Fest at Soldier Field will be August 3rd, and tickets for that event go on sale this Friday, Zim. Yeah, August 8th will be a joint Family Fest. Okay. No, August 8th will be a joint practice with the Dolphins, and August 15th, a joint practice with the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, the Bears' 2025 preseason schedule will feature home games August 10th against the Dolphins and August 17th against the Bills before the Bears head to Kansas City for an August 22nd preseason game against the Chiefs. Yeah, folks, we are exactly 60 days away. Yeah, from the Bears' Week 1 matchup against the Minnesota Vikings on Monday Night Football, Aldo.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, let the countdown to the Ben Johnson era begin. And Aldo, I got to thinking about the week 1 game against the Vikings. Yeah, the wheels started turning in here. Yeah, but before the hamsters got too tired, I had a thought.
What was that?
Yeah, this week 1 game is more important than people realize. That's right. Yeah. The season's got a lot of hype, Aldo.
Sure has.
Yep.
Cut off the testicles.
The head coach, he'll cut off his nuts for a Super Bowl win.
I love it.
That's right. Yeah, a lot of hype. Yeah, the Bears offseason hiring of one of the NFL's brightest offensive coaching minds. It was considered a home run around the NFL. Yeah, if I can I got to find all this here.
yeah, we got a new
it's like hard to
here.
find out. Yeah, here we go. yeah, hunting for my things here. Yeah, the Bears offseason hiring one of the NFL's brightest offensive coaching minds. That was considered a home run hire around the NFL.
Ooh, we got to talk about that.
In fact, NBC Sports' Patrick Doherty's annual head coaching rankings had Ben Johnson number 1 overall in the NFL before he even coached his first game.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, that's not all, though.
Tell me more.
Yep, this week Pro Football Focus, well, they shared their list of, and I can't find it here either.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, we got a new layout over there. That's not all, although, yeah, Pro Football Focus shared their NFL offensive line rankings, and the Bears offense line ranked number 4 overall before they've even played a down together.
Not even a snap.
Yep, not even one snap together. They're ranked number 4 overall. Yeah. Yeah, it's PFF for you. Yeah, they also gave us, a perfect offseason ranking for the Bears. Yeah, perfect A+ grade for PFF.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's a freaking cowboy.
I love it.
Yeah, but it is PFF after all. Yeah, it's the same one that gave us the ceilings and floors of second-year NFL quarterbacks last week.
Nope.
Yeah. Yeah, although, there's a lot of pressure building here on the week 1 Monday Night Football game. Yeah, it's the debut of the new-look Bears. It's Ben Johnson's first game as NFL head coach. It's Ryan Poles' first game after engineering the rebuild of the Bears roster and coaching staff.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, hell, it's the 40th anniversary of the Bears Super Bowl.
That's right. We got to do a show next week on that.
Yep. Yeah, I had a picture for that. I don't think I loaded it, though. Damn it.
Here, this will make up.
Oh, wait, no.
I was going to show my titty picture. There's your picture.
Yeah, it's the first 40th anniversary 85 Super Bowls victory. Yeah, we're talking serious hype, Aldo.
I love it.
Yeah, the Bears have been through a lot the last few years. They suffered through the longest losing streak in Bears history. Yeah, they endured a tank season. Yep, yeah, they also they were nearly done in by arguably they're nearly done in by arguably the worst head coach in Bears history last season.
That's him.
Yeah,
He's a fucking idiot.
The Bears Viking games feels like a must-win game, Aldo.
It sure does.
Yeah, because if the Bears lose,
That's a great topic.
if the Bears lose against the Vikings, think what the narratives will be, Aldo.
Oh, no, don't start.
Yeah, Bears fans will be shouting, Caleb is a bust, or we want Bajent. Yeah, people will second-guess Ryan Poles' decisions. Yeah, we should have traded that number 1 pick and drafted Jaden Daniels, or Drake May, or J.J. McCarthy, etc., etc. Yeah, if Caleb and Ben lose to J.J. McCarthy in his first NFL start, there's going to be a good amount of panic.
That's
right. Yeah, there's going to be finger pointing. Yeah, it's been 7 years since the Bears were competitive, Aldo.
Oh, I remember that.
What the hell? Oh my God! No way!
7 years since the double doink. At the 20 years since the last Super Bowl appearance with Lovie Smith and Brian Urlacher. And like I said, 40 years since the Bears' only Super Bowl victory.
I'm crying.
Bears fans, they want to start preparing for the team to be good.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, by all accounts, we have the coach, we have the quarterback. The team spent money to improve the roster. They put together a great
W.
They put together a great coaching staff. Feels like it's time to start winning, doesn't it, guys?
It does.
Legit.
Yeah.
That was, huh?
Yeah, so damn the torpedoes. Full speed ahead. We better be ready for primetime Monday Night Football Bears Vikings. Yeah, we are 60 days away from the Bears' first game of the 2025 season. Why can't we be 213 days away from the Bears' last game of the season, Aldo?
I love it.
Yeah, it's Bears state of affairs, man. Woo-hoo!
I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth.
He told it like it is and always will. Listen next week to get an earful of whatever's happening with the Chicago Bears. It always happens here with John's State of Affairs. If you have to disagree, he's got a decree. Go fuck your fist cause you're on his blacklist. You just heard the bare truth right here and now. John gave it to you straight cause he's got no sacred cows. If you have to disagree, he's got a decree. Go fuck your fist cause you're on his blacklist. This was John's Bear State of Affairs.
I'm getting used to that grid of pictures. It's like I'm seeing whether in order. I can't find my pictures.
Your state of affairs was great. I have to give myself an F. I was trying to make it less aggressive, and where do we end up? Fucking your fist again. Jesus. Zim, you're going to need to take over the music on this show.
We'll see what happens.
It can't get any worse than what I've already introduced
We'll have
into
to
the show.
fix that Bear State of Affairs in post-production.
Yeah, please. But excellent, Tooch. Excellent Bear State of Affairs. And what I took away from it most is this first game against the Vikings is huge. You feel the same way, Zim?
Oh, I mean, how could it not be? Just in the sense of it's never a good look to lose to effectively a rookie in his first career start, especially somebody as unproven with such a high ceiling and such a low floor as JJ McCarthy. You know, this guy, I cannot put my finger on who he reminds me of, but it's so frequently we get these prospects that everybody is so high on and so convinced is going to be great. I mean, shit, we've had two of them very recently in Chicago, and they're just completely oversold before the draft. If he was on, it feels like, 24 other teams in the league, he would not be getting the praise that he currently gets. Like I don't know, man. It's very difficult to justify to me the praise that he gets. And at the same time, it's like, well, he could back all of that up on Monday night against the Bears. And the worst part is my new employers are all Vikings fans. So I'm not gonna, I either get to, lord it over them or have to suffer under them for 6 months if they lose that game.
Because in the area that you're living and working right now is like, it's either Vikings or Kansas City Chiefs with some Packers, but not that many Bears fans. Is that correct?
Somewhat. We're really in a weird no man's land. There is a surprising amount of Bears fans here. A lot of Broncos fans as well, but the company I work for, the owners live up in North Dakota. So they're, hardcore Vikings fans up there because there's nobody else to root for unless you're going to watch Canadian football or hockey. So, okay. So that's why they're all Vikings fans out there. Regardless though, the area that I'm in, yeah, tons of Vikings fans, tons of Packers fans. The Chiefs are kind of the home team, so to say, because Kansas City's only a couple hours away. Yeah, it's all over the place. Going back to the magnitude of this game, though, it's really going to show us how much growth has happened with Caleb Williams in this new offense. It's really going to tell us if this offensive line is the truth that we think it is. Considering what Minnesota's defensive line can do.
Let me interrupt you because I think your thinking is correct, but I wouldn't put too much weight on game one. Yes, it's important from the standpoint that this is a divisional rival. Yes, it's important because the Vikings defense presents so many different challenges for offensive lines and for young quarterbacks. Yes, and yes, and yes, and yes. But game one for a team like this, you got to figure that a team like this is going to get better and better as the season goes on. Now, it would be awesome for the confidence of us Bears fans that if we go out and win 40-0, great defense, great offense, everything works. Yes, but realistically, do you think, Zim, that it's really fair that we put too much weight, a lot of weight on the first game, even though it is a divisional opponent, national TV.
Monday Night Football.
Yeah, and that's another thing.
As cheesy as it is to say, if the Bears want to prove that they really are a different team now, that this energy is real, that this vibe is different,
okay,
that's a game you win. Period. It doesn't matter if it's week 1, week 7, week 15. This is a game that you win. Circumstantially, that is. National TV, divisional opponent, quarterback's first start. Right? Those 3 things lining up, you should win that game 10 out of 10 times if you're a legitimate contender. And the Bears want to be seen as that.
Great point.
You should win that game.
Great point.
Bo Nix did it last year with the Broncos. Going up against his divisional opponents, he handled the Chargers, he handled the Raiders, he faltered against the Chiefs as anybody would. But Bo Nix proved last year that he's the real deal. It's why I'm higher on him than I am on a Drake May, than frankly I am on a Jaden Daniels, because Bo Nix straight up proved that he's the dude. Where Drake May was like Caleb Williams. He went up and down.
Agreed.
Jaden Daniels showed that he can manage a system really, really well. And he managed the hell out of that system. I still think he's a system quarterback personally, but we'll see what happens there.
Well,
it's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, it really is. Year 2 for quarterbacks is huge. Guys that played well in their rookie years sometimes have that sophomore slump, and guys that didn't play as up to expectations, like a Caleb, sometimes explode in year 2. Tooch, I'm interested in hearing more about your thinking about this Vikings game that you introduced in Bears State of Affairs and its importance.
Well, my whole thinking was, what the hell is the narrative going to be if they lose?
Yeah.
It's like Caleb is a bust. JJ McCarthy, we should have traded back in the draft. Bagent's better. There'll be all sorts of, meathead philosophy flying around. But national media will be in on it too, saying Caleb's a bust. It's the Bears, Ben Johnson. All of this was it the right hire? Was the rebuild really going to work? All of this stuff. It's the 40th anniversary of the Super Bowl shuffle. All that stuff. Bears haven't been competitive in so long. The longest losing streak in team history with the last coaching regime. Have they did they spend the money? Have they made the right moves? It's just the main narrative, though, is going to be around Caleb if they lose. Is he a bust? All that stuff's going to come out. It's going to, and it's only the first game of the season, to be fair.
Right.
But if they do lose, that's going to be, they've had tons of time to prepare. The Boo Birds will be out.
By the way, I just saw this out of the corner of my eye, Tooch, while you were talking. Mr. Shorty says that his best friend, his dog, is dying from bone cancer. He needs the comic relief tonight. Mr. Shorty, we love you. You were on last week with you, and if it helps in your grieving process to come on and talk football and have a few laughs for us, use the same link that I sent you last week and come in and join us and talk football and have a few laughs. We'll make you, and we'll also, if you want to commiserate about your buddy, we're here for you, Mr. Shorty. And we are for all of our diehard Barfly fans, as guys like Cliff and Samo and Jeff and so many to mention, who join us every week. And this is a family. We don't have millions of people following us, but the people who do follow us, it feels to me anyway, like family or very, very, very close friends. So, Mr. Shorty, you're more than welcome to jump on with us. Yeah. Samuel says Caleb had one of his best games against the Vikings.
One where he dropped that pass in, that's a teardrop.
Gorgeous. Yes.
Running to his right. Yeah, down the sidelines to Swift, I think, right? DeAndre Swift.
I got to tell you that the Vikings defense that gets all this praise because of the defensive coordinator, I don't know. It's flashy. Yeah, they get sacks and so forth, but they give up a lot of fucking points also. Mm-hmm. And people always point to the fact that, it's because this guy was injured or because of this or that. I don't give a shit. if you are a coordinator of that high of praise, you've got to figure out a way to overcome the fact that your best safety or defensive back is out, or that the pass rush isn't as strong because one of those guys, blah, blah, blah. That to me is what separates good coaches from great coaches, is that the great coaches still get the same kind of results that they were getting when their starters were all healthy. Don't you agree with that, Zim?
Yeah, I mean, this defense that they run, it's, we've heard the bend but don't break defense. They're almost like the break but don't bend defense. Like they give up the points, they give up the shots, and it's just so they can hurry up and get their offense back on the field and keep doing what they do best, which is wear you down, death by 1,000 cuts, basically.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, like, if they continue to do it this year, especially with JJ McCarthy, right? If they can do it from Sam Darnold, from Kirk Cousins to Sam Darnold to JJ McCarthy, their entire offensive staff is going to get pillaged, and that might be the best thing as a Bears fan that we can see happening, is for the Vikings to do what they've done forever, which is be good enough to make the playoffs, but not good enough to win in the playoffs, and then get their whole team pillaged. And, they've got some really nice defensive pieces out there. But some of their cornerstones on defense are getting older, losing a step, see both of their safeties and
Harrison
at least
Smith.
one of their corners, and Eric Kendricks at linebacker. Now their defensive line is still pretty scary, and Dallas Turner, he's the real deal, and he's going to be terrorizing the Bears for years to come, especially if Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah keeps doing what he's doing up there and keeping his good pieces in place until he feels that they're no longer needed, which he seems to have a pretty good idea of when to let people go and when to keep them. So,
which is a key strength for great general managers.
It really is.
In all sports.
Yes.
Baseball, hockey, you name it. Yeah.
Yes, it really is. It's one of the most valuable things, but
It was one of the worst things, and I got to go back to this because I just saw an episode tonight of The Last Dance. It was one of the things that Jerry Krause was at times very good at, but also at times was awful at, and I don't want to digress too far, but the whole idea that the Bears, the Chicago Bulls disintegrated that championship team and did not allow them to die on the basketball court for that fourth straight championship, and their overall seventh. It was a cardinal sin by Jerry Krause and Jerry Reinsdorf. They should have fought to bring in Phil Jackson, Rodman, Pippen, blah, 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 and let them die on the court. I can tell by Zim's expression right now, he thinks I'm full of shit.
No, just to make one quick counter argument to all that is, how much closer does the LeBron versus Jordan debate become if they do run it back and don't win it at that point?
Yeah.
The fact that Jordan went out on top there, that Phil Jackson went out on top with the Bulls and then went to LA and did the same thing all over again. Like, how much more does that elevate both of their status as all-time greats, because they didn't have the opportunity to have this fall off that we've seen with LeBron James, you know, where for the last 5 years, he's a shell of the guy that he was. It seems
Great point.
So, I mean, LeBron, to me, this always comes back to this debate, but LeBron's got the longevity over just about anybody else that's ever played the game. He's one of the best to ever do it in that regard, that he can do it at this high level for such a long time. But at the same time, again, this is why Jordan is the greatest, is because he knew when to say, you know what, I've proved everything I have to prove. I'm done. And the only reason he came back is, you know, in his 2001, 2002 season was so that he could donate money to people in need. That's the only reason he came back. And like, how cool is that? I mean, maybe not the only reason, but yeah.
I think a lot of it had to do with his oversized ego, which, by the way, that's not a complaint. You know, Michael Jordan taught me something very important that we could all benefit from is sometimes you got to be an asshole if you're going to be the very, very best. And even when you think about the nicest people in industry or sports and so forth, they've all had their moments where they were assholes, because you need to be sometimes, unfortunately, in life. And Michael Jordan was often an asshole.
What's the difference between Michael Jordan and Aaron Rodgers? Championships.
Yeah.
Let's be real here. Let's be real. Everybody thinks Aaron Rodgers is such a prick and a piece of shit because he doesn't win.
Yes.
Whereas everybody loves Michael Jordan for it because it's like, well, he backs it up. So
he backs it up.
I mean, and I hate to compare those two because they're really nothing alike, but it's more so saying that cockiness, that competitive edge, that I'm better than you mentality. That's the difference in perception of it.
Yeah.
You know, when you can back it up, you're hailed as a great, and when you can't back it up, it's like, Jesus Christ, when will this guy shut the fuck up and retire?
I do want to say something, Zim, that I think is a little sacrilege, and Tooch, I think, will agree with this, is that when Aaron Rodgers won his first Super Bowl with the Green Bay Packers, what was it, 2010-11 season, I thought that he was capable of becoming the all-time greatest quarterback in the National Football League. And the reason I based that was just I saw him as an artist with his footwork and how he flung the ball and the big plays that he made and so forth. I thought this guy could be fucking the best of all time. Like, I've always considered Joe Montana the best of all time. I think he could eclipse. Zim, I see you saying no. Tooch, I see you saying yes. You guys talk about it.
Tooch, I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I make a lot of good points. Aaron Rodgers, could have been the great. I mean, he'll still go down as one of the all-time greats. But man, just the play, the big playability, like Aldo said. For me, the all-time greatest has got to be Tom Brady. Just that he did it, so many championships. What did he have? 7?
Yeah, to me, like, what defines that greatest, like, excuse me, it's never the guy with the pretty footwork. It's never the guy with the best team leadership ability. It's the guy who wins at the end of the day, right? And that's what Joe Montana did. That's what Tom Brady did. That's what Big Ben did in the beginning of his career. And unfortunately, he lost that ability as his career went on. And that's just to name some of the more recent guys. Peyton Manning was another one, with the exception of the 2 Super Bowls that he lost, but he was the heart and soul of his team for those years. Yeah. And to me, like, that's what kind of makes these elite quarterbacks truly elite. It's not the guy who looks good doing it. It's the guy who does what it takes to get it done. Yeah. And it's what made a lot of people feel the same way about John Elway early in his career. I think John Elway and Aaron Rodgers are a very good comparison to one another because they're both guys that, frankly, are kind of just like pukes as human beings, but they were both very good football players. They both were able to put their team on their back and carry them almost all the way a lot of the time. Yep. And at the end of the day, they're going to be remembered by their fans as the greatest of all time and the rest of the league as like, I can see it, because to me, neither one of these guys are top 5 all time. Neither one of these guys, I would argue, aren't even top 10 all time. But to their respective fan bases, John Elway and Aaron Rodgers are absolutely in those conversations. So I get it because he wins a lot. He puts up good numbers. He makes his teammates better. All signs of an elite quarterback, but he just doesn't seal the deal. He's always there. It's always somebody else's fault. And to me, like, that's a true sign of weakness in him out of everything else. It's never his fault. He's always right. He's always right. He literally just went out last week and said, I was right about that whole COVID thing, right? And it's like, dude, whether you were right or wrong, that was like 5 years ago. Who cares? Like, can we worry about the Steelers and not COVID, please?
Yeah.
Come on. So
I think you can draw a lot of the same comparisons as far as longevity between LeBron and Tom Brady. I mean, Tom Brady played to, it was 41 or 42.
yeah, absolutely.
And I think he and LeBron will be remembered as being the Iron Men of their sports.
You know who
Cal
LeBron
Ripken
reminds
and
me
baseball.
of, like as far as another athlete goes, like honestly, universally recognizable, peaked kind of early,
Yep.
but maintained his celebrity status, and genuinely, like when he's done with fame, will probably have the ability to blend into a crowd just a little bit. He feels like the Tony Hawk of basketball to me. Like Tony Hawk peaked.
How
young.
old is he? Is he 42 now, LeBron?
LeBron, yeah, he's 41 or 42.
42 maybe, yeah.
Yeah. But to me, like they have that similar like era about them where it's like, yeah, they're definitely the greatest of their generation, but like you can look at other guys and clearly point to them as the greatest of their generations too.
Yeah.
So,
yep. 100%.
I know that's a really weird line to draw, but like for me as like somebody who grew up in the early 2000s with the skate propaganda for lack of a better word, with all the skate propaganda everywhere, everybody in my generation knows who Tony Hawk is. Everybody in my generation knows who LeBron James is. Nobody really thinks of them. Well, those who don't know better think of them as the greatest ever. But then those who really know about the sport they're involved in go, well, wait a second. We also have these other names that you have to discuss.
Yep. We
My
lost
camera
you there
just
for
did
a
funny
second.
thing. My camera did a funny thing. I don't know if I should be worried about that.
I don't think so.
Is Aldo
I don't
back?
think so.
There he is.
I am back. And by the way, I'm so fucking happy that I was away while you guys were talking about Tony Hawk.
Hey, the new Tony Hawk game came out like yesterday or today. I'm kind of excited to play it.
For somebody of my generation, because I yeah, thank you, dude.
I get it.
So somebody of my generation, I buy the Tony Hawk game. My grandson says, "Hey, Grandpa, let's play Tony Hawk." What am I doing? What am I on a skateboard? Am I? Zim, you played it. Tell me, what the fuck am I doing?
Skateboarding around. Yep.
You skateboard around and you do tricks and you try to beat challenges. Whether it's getting a certain score because of the tricks that you do, or trying to get to really hard to reach places, or doing specific tricks in specific spots and things like that. So, I don't know. Skateboarding is to me like. My camera, dude. I don't know what's going on with my camera.
It's rocking out, baby.
This has never happened before. I think my cable might just be loose. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. By the way, I mean,
I just wiggled it. I think it's good now.
Your camera is fucking gorgeous, man. I mean, Jesus, that is 4K galore.
High def. Yeah.
Yes.
Spoke too soon. Lens error.
Oh, lens error.
No.
Oh, you got to restart your camera.
Sure
That's
do.
we'll just put this up for a little while. Aldo.
Look at that handsome guy.
I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth.
Foghorn Leghorn.
Did you guys see that? This was a year ago. This congressman who, they were having a committee hearing on books in libraries, and so he decided to read passages from some of the books that they wanted banned. And I know this guy is too fucking smart. I know what he was doing. He was providing sound bites.
Yep.
Yes, exactly. I mean, this is priceless.
I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth.
I'm going to send that to Dan Aguirre because he should have that as his ringtone on his phone.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure. All right. Part of the reason I was in the background there was I'm trying to load some video that Mr. Shorty sent me of his dog who just passed away. I still haven't got it worked out, but I will, and we'll share that before the end of the show. Let's get back to the topic of the Chicago Bears, and let's segue to we promised our audience we would talk about the roster from the offensive side.
yeah.
And I don't
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
go position by position. I'd like to approach this a little bit, differently than perhaps we handled it last week or we have other times, which is I'd love to talk about who is on the bubble from the offense. Who from the tight end position, wide receiver position, offensive line, what have you. We talked defense last week, right?
We talked offense last week.
Offense. Yep.
Okay, so I apologize. Switch that back. We're going to talk defense tonight. Who on the defense, like Zach Pickens, we can definitely all agree. I doubt anybody in the chat.
I didn't have him on the 53.
Yeah, I doubt, right?
Yeah.
Because this is it.
Doesn't make
Unless
the
he fucking blows things up in camp and in these preseason matchups that they had, the 3 preseason games and the 2 scrimmages, because we got to talk about the tickets, by the way. But
Absolutely.
Let's stay on this defense. Zach Pickens, to me, is the most from guys that have played a year or two, guys that we had higher expectations for, because this guy was a 3rd round draft pick. This guy is probably not making the team, and he didn't get a boost in confidence with what the Bears did in the offseason, bringing in Shamar Turner, bringing in Grady Jarrett, and so forth. These are all guys that are getting get the snaps, and Zach Pickens is either going to be carrying water for the Bears during the season or out of a job. What do you guys think?
Well, interestingly enough, on ESPN, they have Grady Jarrett listed as a defensive end.
Fuck ESPN.
Well,
You're always saying that, right?
I can't find it on the Bears roster for
Go
website for
to
some reason.
Go to our lads, OUR lads, ourlads.com. And theirs is not perfect by any means, but it's one of the better websites that offers depth charts for all 32 NFL teams. And I think that you'll find something that'll suit your needs better there.
Cool. Okay.
Our lads.
Kind of have it here.
I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth.
Oh my God.
That was a message.
Anyway. But yeah, I would agree with who they have as the top 4. And I don't know if you keep anybody beyond the top 4 this year. They've got Dexter, Jarrett, Billings, and Turner as the top 4. I think Chris Williams is a fringe, just like they've got him here. Zach Pickens and Jonathan Ford below them. Jonathan Ford is going to be a great practice squad guy. He came up to the bigs and made a few plays last year too. Yeah, Pickens will be a Browns practice squad player. I mean, he hasn't put it together. He has not shown that he can be the guy. And, it's really unfortunate considering the trajectory and path that Gervon Dexter has been on, it where it seems like he could legitimately be that dude for this team. And then when you expand out to the defensive ends position, there's only 4 guys there too. I mean, what are they going to keep 10 defensive linemen? Probably not.
I have them keeping 10.
Really?
I have them keeping 9 tops. So,
all right, you guys go at it. I want to know who that 10th player is.
The 10th player for me is Dominique Robinson. And,
he's the 9th player for me.
Just because this guy hates giving up his draft picks, Aldo. Look at that. He doesn't want to give up Pickens or Robinson.
Well, but that's it. I think he gives up Pickens. I think Chris Williams could beat out Zach Pickens.
Yeah, I do too. I don't even have Pickens making the roster. I do have Ford making the roster just because they don't have anybody of his size. Like if they want to do some goal line, goal line stand from the 1 yard line, you put Ford in there up there in the middle. He's 350 pounds, so he the largest of the Bears defensive linemen. I think that beef would come in handy if they're making a goal line stand, 4th and 1, the game's on the line.
Yep.
You put that beef in there. So that's why I think he makes that roster. Him and Billings on that goal line stand be pretty good.
I get that, but the way they've built this roster feels, and this is going to be silly to compare it to because high school is not the NFL, and I need to make that as clear as day. But high school is not the NFL. But the way they're building this defense reminds me a lot of how my high school built our defense, which was the 11 fastest dudes are going to be your first 11 starters. And the next 5 fastest dudes are going to be your first 5 off the bench. You know, like this is a speed-based team on defense, and it's only getting faster by the day. And it's crazy to me to see that, because it's not what you think about in the modern NFL. But, you know, like we were talking about before, the Vikings have basically built their defense around the same thing, and it's working out pretty well for them. And Kansas City is building their defense around the same thing, and it's working out for them. And Philadelphia is building their defense. And my point goes, these defenses are getting faster and faster to keep up with faster and faster offenses. And it feels like the way they're assembling this roster, they're valuing speed over size in certain areas.
That's not exactly true, though, because the defensive ends are large in this defense.
They're long. They're not large. They're long.
They're heavier, though, than most. You know, like Montez Sweat's like 270 pounds.
Montez Sweat is like 270 pounds, but he's also like 6'5".
Odengbo is also around 272. I think he's like 280.
And he's also like 6'5". Like,
well, he's longer than that. He's
big,
like 6'6", 6'7".
That's it. Big boys weigh a lot, you know.
They're not exactly known for their speed. They're more, you know, size. And,
well, Odengo is.
The linebackers, yeah, I could say that they want smaller, faster linebackers. That's why they drafted Ruben Hippolyte.
Right.
But the guys, if you're asking me who's on the bubble, it would definitely be Dominique Robinson and at linebacker Noah Sewell.
I would agree with both of those.
But I do have Sewell making the roster just because he's one of Pole's draft picks.
Yeah. And, how many linebackers do you have them going with?
5 only.
I would agree with that. Okay.
Like Greg Gabriel said, they really only play 2 linebackers. You know, Kyler Gordon's kind of the third linebacker in this defense. But
so you have them keeping Edwards, Edmonds, Hippolyte, Ogbong Bamiga, and Sewell.
And Sewell, yep, those are the. But I mean,
I think
Sewell, I think is definitely could be practice squad. You know, you could sneak through. He could be snuck through waivers.
That's what I was going to say.
Practice squad.
I think that Swayze Bozeman could outplay him and take that final spot, because Bozeman has that special teams ability that I don't think
Sewell's
has shown
a good
to have.
Special team player though too.
He's good, but he's
had the injury issue. That's his.
Yeah.
He hasn't done much just because he's been injured. But there's, I mean, the guy who I do have, I guess he's a defensive end, but he's the size of a linebacker, is Daniel Hardy, who is an excellent special teams player. I have him making the roster. Now, a defensive end, though, for me, I mean, the Bears, I wouldn't rule out the Bears signing a free agent defensive end like Matthew Judon or Zadarius Smith, and then Dominique Robinson would be gone or practice squad.
I just don't see why they do that.
Because if the price is right,
that price would have to be really low.
Zadarius Smith or Matthew Judon is a good pass rusher on third down. Either one of those guys.
I've heard.
Let me show you why. And he's been injured. There's no doubt about it. But Montez Sweat, to 2023, we're like, this is great. You know, we got a lot of production out of him and stuff. And last year, of course, the Sweat's production kind of took a tailspin.
As happens with guys when they spend multiple seasons on the Bears.
Right. Yep. And
let me jump in.
Here. Well, hold on. Let me finish my point real quick.
Please.
Real quick, although it's just a couple seconds.
No, take your time.
As far as Montez Sweat, I think Montez Sweat in reality, I mean, he's a dominant run defender, edge setter. An excellent player. He's not a great pass rusher, though. He's got to have it. And that's why I think someone like Zadarius Smith or Matthew Judon, that gives the Bears something that Montez Sweat and is not, and Odengbo is unproven as.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I say I think they could still sign. Zadarius Smith was with the Lions when Ben Johnson was there.
Yeah, I totally agree with your assessment on Montez Sweat. I do think that we as fans sometimes forget how injured he was in 2024, which impacted the caliber of his play. I expect that he's going to get better, but he's proven that if he is not at 100%, he is more of, as you precisely described them, to a good defensive end who sets the edge, who can get his sacks.
He's dominant
tackles,
run defender.
but he's not a sack machine, and he never was at Washington, and we shouldn't expect him to be here in Chicago. But he can play, I think, at a level higher than he did in 2024 for sure, and as high as he did in the 2023 season when he had 7 games with the Chicago Bears. He can be much more of an impactful player as a pass rusher if the interior of this defensive line with Grady Jarrett and Shamar Turner, the 2 major acquisitions in the interior.
Billings.
Yes. And Billings was here, and Deron Dexter. Those guys, we know what they can give at the very least, and hopefully they'll give us more this year. But these 2 new guys, they should be able to help both Dio and Montez get close to 10 sacks each, and so that we can get 20 or low 20s sack totals from each. But the biggest thing is just disruption of the timing of the passing game. You know, there's a lower priority now on sacks in the NFL because quarterbacks are getting rid of the ball so quick. So it's almost as disruptions have taken the place of sacks. And of course, sacks will always be better because you're losing yardage, you're losing a down, but a disruption can lead to interceptions. A disruption can lead now to 2nd and long, or 3rd and long, and so forth. So those disruptions, which you're going to get much more of than sacks, has become like a goal for defensive coordinators to get. And I think both of these guys that we have, and the 3rd guy being Booker, the 2nd-year guy, I think they can deliver on the needs that Chicago Bears have at that defensive edge position.
I think we're awfully thin after those top 2 ends.
Ooh, you are so right on that.
You know, that's why I would love to see him sign Zadarius Smith after that.
Daniel Hardy is a league average replacement as a backup there. He showed that just fine last year, in my opinion.
Good. Yeah.
Austin Booker, he's a 2nd-year player. It's time to put up or shut up, you know? Dominique Robinson, he might be slightly below average, but I really don't think that the depth is as dire as it's been made out to be. And something that, you know, Tucci, I feel like you're talking out of your mouth on both sides a little bit on this one, right? Because you tell me that Ryan Poles values his draft picks more than anything.
Yeah,
but then you tell me that he's going to go sign somebody.
That's not my opinion. That's the reality.
But then you tell me that he's going to go sign somebody at a position that he's invested 4 draft picks into.
Well, that's not talking out of both sides of my mouth, because that's what Ryan Poles would do. It's not what I would do.
I understand. No, I'm just saying. You know? I'm just trying to point out simply that he's drafted 1.
Jeez,
2,
look at those 2. They're going at each other like an Italian guy and a black woman.
Yeah, I mean,
I just want to point out Gervon Dexter, Austin Booker, Shamar Turner,
keep his
Dominique Robinson. That's 4 right there that we all agree are probably making this roster.
Yeah, but
so if he signs somebody, he's kicking one of them off the roster. So does he value his draft picks, or does he want to sign somebody to make?
Or does he want to win, Zim?
And I understand. I understand that, and that's the ultimate question here.
Both of those guys make it. Judon or Zadarius Smith makes your roster better than Dominique Robinson, Austin Booker, or
I wouldn't disagree. I don't disagree with that. My only point is, do we think that Poles' ego is big enough to prevent a signing for like that, or are his wallets deep enough to make that signing? You know what I mean? Like,
that's the rub.
Those are what I think that's where I think the sweet spot is in this argument is where does the value come from? Do we want to win? Do we believe that these draft picks are truly better? And do we think that he's willing to put the ego to the side enough to say, these guys aren't working out, let me bring in somebody who's already been around?
Well, here's the thing. If if say Zadarius Smith or Matthew Judon is willing, it gets down towards August, and they're willing to take a 2-year deal. It's really a 1-year deal for 8, 9, 10 million. Polls should be inking that deal. We get one of these guys in here for that price. To me, it's a no-brainer. You have the veteran leadership, and I would take. I mean, fans would take either one of those guys over Dominique or Austin Booker or whoever.
Yes.
No question, because if the Bears are a playoff team, and they might be, because we've said that the division is weakened. The other 3 teams are weakened slightly. The Bears have a chance to sneak into first or second in the division, maybe a playoff spot, which is it's not out of the realm of possibility. I think if they want to take a shot this season, making some noise in the playoffs, they would sign a veteran pass rusher. I think it would only help the team.
By the way, there's a love affair going on in the chat room between Steven Zimmerman and Vinny Parisi. More of that tomorrow on tomorrow's broadcast. Zim loves Vinny.
Oh yeah, well, that's my other radio son.
That's right.
Is Vinny in the chat room?
Yeah,
Vinny,
he just popped in.
Vinny is in the chat room. Vinny, let me know when you're available to pop on Bear Their Souls.
Yes.
I know he's got Vinny.
Have we had him on Bears or Souls before?
Oh yeah,
one time, once or twice,
2 or 3, yeah. And Vinny, by the way, is getting married in December. So
That's
one
right.
of the things I want to do here on Bear Their Souls is have Vinny on and tell us a little bit about what he's planning on that wedding night. You guys have been married before. You planned for it, right?
Although
but
I might have been married 3 times each.
That's right. That's right. And every time I have bought a bottle of Extends. And
All
every
I'm
time
saying is
I've been burned.
sometimes you plan for your wedding night, and sometimes you drink a bottle and a half of whiskey with your best friend and end the night puking up flaming hot Cheeto.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a funny story. Since this is Bear Their Souls, just real quickly. I don't want to dwell on this too much, but on one of my marriages, I went out after the bachelor party, surprise bachelor party for me. And so my future brother-in-law and me end up after the party saying, hey, let's go get some drinks. He says to me, let's go get some drinks and so forth. At this place that we went to get drinks, he met a girl and I met a girl. And I was like, why am I getting married? Can someone explain this to me? So that's all I'll share because the statute of limitations is still going on.
If we are going back on Pole's history, though, he did sign Yannick Ngakoue for $10 million. Of course, it was a tank year.
Yes.
But he did sign a veteran pass rusher for $10 million.
I feel like the need was much higher at that point, so I feel like the price tag won't be as high, especially because they already made a $16 million a year investment at that position this year.
Yep.
And that's my biggest caveat on this whole thing is they are currently spending $34 million a year on their defensive ends. They've invested the money.
Yep.
A lot of people want to say like they need to bring in somebody, they need to do this, they need to do that. Their 2 starting defensive ends are costing them $34 million this year. They made the investment. It's up to these guys to perform up to their contracts at this point.
That's a great point. And I want to just comment quickly on what Tooch just said regarding the money they invested on the Ngakoue. That was, like you said, I think you were saying, Tooch, that was money invested into the tank. In other words, they were saying, let's make sure we put in enough money into mediocre players that'll help us get a better draft pick.
I mean,
not help us win, but get a better draft pick.
Yeah, I mean, they at the time there was like, we need some pass rush.
That's right.
But he was out there.
He was out there.
Production. Yep. Veteran.
Pretends pass rush, right? You don't want anybody too good.
Yeah, I don't remember what his numbers were. I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah,
not good.
It wasn't great.
Yeah,
he broke his 11 sack streak.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Indeed.
I think he wound up at like 6.5 or 7 sacks that year.
Mm.
Okay, so Grady
Trading
Jarrett.
Braxton Jones, I don't know. I wouldn't.
Grady Jarrett is also costing the Bears
Big time.
about what is this? About $11 million a year? $15 million this year.
AAV is $15 million.
Yeah. So
Yep.
between 15 million on him, 16 million on Odangbo, and 18 million on Sweat.
Yeah, it's like 50 million right there.
Guys, they made the investment. I know this isn't the answer people want to hear because I've brought this up before on this very show. I know this isn't. I brought it up on Shorty's show too. This isn't the answer people want to hear, but they made the investment in the D line, guys. They did it. $50 million this year. That's a quarter of your entire cap space on 3 players to rush the passer.
Right. Yep. And Jeff says that's the key, Zim. Any signing would have been a minimal investment guarantee, which is why I don't think anything will happen. Maybe if a player they like becomes available after final cuts.
If Matt Judon wants a $3 million deal on August 15th, you you bring him in. But anything more than that and any earlier than that,
but you could do
it's so hard.
Like an 8 to 10 million 2-year deal. It's really a 1-year deal, and sever the player after 1 year. Be really a 1-year deal spread over 2 years.
Yeah.
So you could sign one of these veteran pass rushers.
Poles is smart like that, unlike Pace. He doesn't really like to do these short, minimal, bullshit contracts in a way that hampers the team for the future. And I appreciate that about him for sure.
Yep.
This whole thing is set up to win in the next 3 years. If they don't win in the next 3 years, he can blow this whole thing up and start all over.
They're trying to build a playoff window and keep it open.
That rookie contract window is exactly what they're playing with right now.
They've got Caleb on a rookie contract, Gervon Dexter on a rookie contract, Braxton Jones on a rookie contract. If Braxton Jones is or Ozzie Trapillo, either one of those two guys.
If either one of those guys work out. But yeah, you're talking about some of your biggest weapons right now on rookie contracts. You got DJ Moore for a bargain. Again, only for the next 4 years too. And did they ever sign Cooney to an extension? Speaking of,
yes, they have.
Yes. Yep.
So he's locked in for the next 3 seasons. And Tony Boy wants to know from us, are we worried about Burden's injury holding him out? My answer to him is no. I don't think this injury
not the injury
is serious.
The contract situation worries me a little bit.
Right.
Because he will. I don't think the kid will sign a contract unless it's a guaranteed money contract.
Totally 100% guaranteed, and totally 100% I agree with you too.
Yep.
I'm sorry. This shouldn't even be a debate. Draft picks should you want to make draft picks more valuable. You want to stop these teams from trading 5th rounders for nothing. Make all draft picks guaranteed contracts, period, point blank, done.
But I think can't though, because not all draft picks make the roster though.
It doesn't matter.
I think if they make the roster all day one, which is those contracts are already guaranteed, but all day one and all day 2, which is round 2 and 3, should be
I would agree with that.
Should be guaranteed. And the only way they're not guaranteed is if the guy doesn't make the roster and you put him on the practice squad, but you got to put him through waivers. So if you drafted a 2nd or 3rd rounder and you're putting him through waivers, he's available for every other team to pick up. And they would then be forced to guarantee that contract. I think that's the way that it should be. I got to tell you, I've been thinking a lot about all this players union, NFL thing, and I'm no financial expert by any means, but we can all agree on one thing. It's fucked up. Gotta get it more simple for us average fans to get kind of an idea of who can possibly be on my team, who can possibly be out of my team. I want to go to a website and know that these guys are going to be playing for a certain amount of years and that there's no risk of losing them. We got to simplify that for us fans because we're the engine that makes the NFL going. dollars towards tickets, our dollars towards paraphernalia, uniforms, t-shirts, all that shit, merchandise is the word I was looking for. All of that stuff gives us a say at the table of how the league should be running things. And right now they're running it to our disgust. It's like we don't understand half the shit, or we disagree with some of the agreements that have been going on. They got to think about us more as opposed to some of the bullshit shit they think about.
Well, the
TV
good news
contracts.
is we're halfway to a new CBA, and the next one expires in
Great point.
2030.
Great
So
point.
we only have one more rookie class until this shit expires. How's that for a way to think about it?
But you said 2030, but isn't it isn't there a window in like a couple of years before that where we could open up negotiations?
They can, but they won't. You know how it always goes. They'll wait till the last minute, and then they'll hold out, and then they'll threaten to cancel the season, and then they'll not do training camp, and then miraculously they'll get it all figured out just in time for the regular season because nobody actually wanted to do training camp that year.
That's right. I love it. All right, guys. I think let's get back to the roster talk. Any other things regarding the roster as you did your work? And I really love the fact that you guys did the work on the roster and you discussed that amongst the two of you. But anything else regarding the roster that you would like to share with us in terms of who's a lock, who's not a lock, or who's a surprise cut, or anything like that?
As far as like safeties go, I think the top two are pretty clear, and Brisker and Byard. I think the next two, and Hicks and Owens, are virtually guaranteed as well.
Did they extend Owens? I want to say, I thought I read somewhere that they extended Owens. Do you know, Aldo?
Yes, they did.
They did extend Owens.
Yes.
Nice.
Owens
I like that move.
Yeah, Owens is in the fold for this year and beyond.
Jonathan Owens actually had a 2-year contract last year, so it wasn't extended. He was already under contract. Yeah,
but a combination of Owens and Brisker next year, I wouldn't hate. But again, I mean, a lot of these, I don't think any of their safeties, other than if Major Burns makes the roster, or Tysheem Johnson, I don't think any of these guys are under contract for next year. So
I like Johnson, but I think he's a practice squad player this year.
I wouldn't be surprised to see either Johnson or Burns make the final 53 in favor of Tarvarius Moore, who's more of a special teamer than anything else at this point.
I don't have Moore making the roster.
Yeah. And in order to do that, you would have to carry 11 DBs, which isn't unheard of in this day and age, but it kind of comes down to whether you want to keep. If you keep 11, then it comes down.
I have 11 DBs myself.
It comes down to whether you keep 5 safeties or 7 corners, and 7 corners is not unheard of.
I've got 7 corners.
Who do you have there? Because I have Stevenson, Gordon, Johnson, obviously your top 3. Blackwell, Frazier, Smith.
Yep.
Yeah, and then my final one, I would actually keep Nahshon Wright.
Yeah, I have him keeping McLeod just for special teams because that dude
and that's totally fair. I've already heard a lot about Nahshon Wright at this point in the offseason, like so much that I'm like, this is notable. It's July, and I know the name of the final cornerback on the roster. Yeah. That's notable.
And he's long like Zay Frazier.
Yeah.
He's like 6'4", 190, something like that. I don't know how big he is, but I know he's long like Zay Frazier. So maybe they do keep Nahshon instead of McLeod. It depends on how good he is a special teams player.
Hey, let me ask you this, because a lot of people, I think, are assuming that Frazier, the rookie cornerback, is a lock for this team. I think he and Terrell Smith could be fighting for a practice squad / roster position. What do you guys think?
I
think
don't.
They both make the team.
They play different positions to me.
I mean, Smith's shown he can fill in if there's an injury at quarterback.
Well, Terrell Smith, I think, correct me in the chat.
What did I say? Terrell Smith has shown he can fill in.
Yeah. Terrell Smith, I think could be a starter in this league. I think he's shown that much promise. He had a game or two that were bad performances in 2024, but I still have a lot of confidence in him.
Mhm.
But I think he's going to make the roster. I don't know if say Frazier is going to make the roster. That's what I'd like to hear you guys debate.
Here's my thing. Like for historical comparisons, right? Terrell Smith is Tim Jennings, right? He's small, he's speedy, and he's going to beat you on effort more than anything else. Zay Frazier is Byron Maxwell, where he's bigger, he's stronger, he's faster. He can just out everything you know? So now Byron Maxwell and Tim Jennings both had pretty flash in the pan kind of careers, but they were both very good at what they did and did that in very different ways.
I mean, Smith is not small, though. He's like 6 foot, 200 pounds.
No, I'm just saying compared to the wide receivers he's up against, you know, because Tim Jennings, he was like 5'10", I think. Like he was not a
small.
big guy. Yeah.
But I think if it came down to those two, though, Aldo, I think they keep the draft pick. I mean, that dude ran like a 4.3 40. He's long.
That's
raw,
what I love about that. And the Bears have not historically had a lot of long cornerbacks. Peanut Tillman.
His legs are like this thin, though.
I know that's part of his problem, right? He needs to add that NFL body, which is why I see him more as a developmental player. I don't see him making this team. I see him making it through waivers, and I see Zay Frazier becoming a guy who in year 2 is going to show up to camp with an NFL body. One of the things I'm most excited about seeing at training camp this season is the bodies of some of these players.
Was he a fifth round pick?
I think they were both 5th rounders.
Yes. Round, okay.
So and I think that's a segue to one of our other topics.
I was going to say, if he's a 4th rounder, he's making the team. I thought he was a 4th rounder, but if he's a 5th rounder, I could see your reasoning there of them trying to sneak him onto the practice squad. But
all of Ryan Pohl's 5th round picks are currently on the roster. Zay Frazier would be the first one.
Doug Kramer.
Well, he currently he's a 6th round pick. He's a 6th round pick.
Right. But Dominique Robinson, fifth round Robinson.
His 5th round picks currently are
Terrell Smith,
Braxton Jones, Terrell Smith, Austin Booker, Dominique Robinson, and Zay Frazier. Am I missing any? Noah Sewell.
Yeah, Noah Sewell. Yep. I knew there was one more at least. Yeah.
Wasn't Dominique? Oh no, I was thinking he was a Ryan Pace era. No, he was a Matt Nagy era. There's a difference there.
Yes. Yes. Well, I got to tell you, there's going to be some really interesting stuff going on at Bears training camp, and I was so happy today that I was able to land some tickets to training camp, and I know that Steven Zimmerman was among the very first to land a ticket or two or more to training camp. So, Zim, tell us about your experience getting on the Bears website and landing some tickets.
Yeah, so a few weeks ago, I was, I've had this trip to Chicago more or less on the books for the last year. And I kind of set some hard dates to it about a month or two ago. So I kind of went back about 2-3 weeks ago and I was like, okay, training camp is going to be during this time. Let me figure it out.
Yeah.
When they announced the dates for training camp, I was like, cool. Like, how do I get tickets? I know they're free. I know it's a whole thing. So I want to make sure I don't miss it. So I set a reminder on my phone the day they announced when you could get tickets. I put the reminder on my phone for 20 minutes before 10 o'clock this morning. So 10 o'clock Central Time. I put a reminder to remind me at 9:40 this morning to log on to the website, get in line for these tickets because I know they go fast. So I wanted to be there early to get it done. And my initial plan was to have 2 windows open, like one on each side of my screen, one for August 13th, one for August 14th, because those are...
I love it.
Because the 13th and the 14th are the 2 days that I was able to attend. So I tried to have one open for each day. Guys, there's stuff right on the Ticketmaster page for anybody who missed it because they were trying this message. There's a note right on this page that says do not have multiple tabs open, do not have multiple windows open, do not be logged in on multiple devices. You will not get tickets if you do this. And I want to know how many people didn't get tickets because they just didn't read. And what's really interesting about that is it gives you a unique queue ID underneath, and mine was zeros across the board. And then I closed that second tab, and all of a sudden it populated with a real number. So I finally actually got in line, logged in and figured all this out about 12 minutes before tickets went out. And from there, it was just a matter of making sure my laptop didn't go to sleep. So,
exactly.
So I'm moving the mouse and I'm keep paying attention, and 10 o'clock rolls around and it says less than 1 minute until tickets are on sale. And I'm like, no. Give me these things. But I didn't refresh the page. And that's probably key here. I didn't refresh the page. I was patient. I waited. Patience is a virtue. So I just sat there. I waited. It refreshed by itself. It said, how many tickets do you want? And it automatically put me in at 2. And I almost clicked through with 2. And I was like, wait, I need 4. I have kids I'm bringing with.
Yes. What happened?
I need 4. So I changed it to 4. I was calm. I was collected. I was like, it said, your tickets are saved for the next 7 minutes or whatever. So I went through and I adjusted the total. And so I've got my tickets for me and my wife and both of my kids. And so here's the kicker for me is it doesn't say how old, usually kids like 3 and under are free for events or whatever. I've been to Colorado Rockies games in the past. I'm going to White Sox game. It says, kids that are, 3 and under or sitting on your lap, you don't have to buy a ticket for. Yeah, whatever. It is what it is. Well, so for the Bears, it says children 32 inches and shorter are free. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? I don't know how tall my kid is. I haven't, he's 2, he's 4 now. He doesn't go to the doctor every 3 months anymore. He goes for annual checkups.
You got a tape measure at home?
Yeah.
Well, I got a tape measure, but he's off at daycare. I'm not going to, I can't measure him.
Yeah, right.
And here's the thing. He's 4. He could be 30 inches today and 33 inches in a month.
Right. He could be a 7-footer in a month. Yeah, well, it can be.
So I bought 4 to be safe. And maybe I have an extra ticket in a month and maybe I don't,
Okay.
We see what happens. So I got back in line after that. I secured my ticket to see if I could get tickets for the 13th as well. Because I was like, hey, let's just try to get both days. And then my wife can decide whichever works best for us on our trip. And I can just, there's always people looking for tickets. So I can just say, hey, who needs tickets? Give them on to the next guy for the date that I didn't decide to go to. And, excuse me. I got in line and it said there were 1,500 people ahead of me, and I'm watching it count down. This is the part that I'm sure everybody can relate to, right? I'm watching it go from 1,500 to 1,450 to 1,400 to 1,350 to 1,300, so on and so forth. I get down to 750 people in line, and then all of a sudden it jumps up to 50 people ahead of me, and I'm like, sweet. All right, cool. And then it says, it's your turn. Tickets are sold out.
Oh!
I'm like, so that's why those 700 spots went by so fast.
No shit. Exactly. Exactly. Well, I had my moment today because last year the fucking date went and, I didn't even get an opportunity to. So this year I was prepared and I asked my stepdaughter, because I knew she had some time available today, can you get online and try to get me some tickets? And she's familiar with Ticketmaster and that whole process. So it was easy for her. And I asked my wife. Unfortunately, it wasn't as easy for her, so she was unable to get me. But I got 2 from my stepdaughter, and I got 2 from this computer, and I got 2 from this computer, and I got 2 from this computer. So I got 8 fucking tickets.
Nice.
And I was online. I can't speak for my stepdaughter what the process for her, but on all 3 of my computers I was never more than 210 in the queue. It went from 210 to 186 to 114 on this computer, and similar to this computer, and similar to this computer. So I was going like from this one to this one to this one, and I got a fucking 8 tickets to the Bears practice plus
on separate days or
on
all
separate days.
Nice.
On separate days. So 2 tickets for each of the 4 dates. Plus, Greg is telling me that he's reached out to Ryan Poles and he's going to try to get 2 tickets for the VIP tent. And that second ticket will be for his driver. You're looking at him, baby.
Nice. Yeah, pick him up on the way up to House Hall.
Wouldn't that be cool? I'm hanging on the VIP.
Yeah, nice.
Look, Aldo, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to talk to Greg. I need you to tell him that I have 2 boys who are very interested in the game, but kind of unsure. And a meeting with Caleb Williams would probably really help push them in the direction of playing.
Yes, that's what I want. That's what I want. Jeff says, although if I'm in town, I want one of those tickets. I'll buy you lunch. Absolutely, Jeff. Absolutely. I want to make this happen. I want to spread the joy. And yeah, I got to tell you, one time I want to say it was Bourbonnais before they went to House Hall. Yeah, it was Bourbonnais. And I was hanging out with Greg Braggs, who we all know and love. And Greg was fucking phenomenal. He was the Pied Piper at Bears House, at Bears training camp in Bourbonnais. And he would get stuff and he would give it to kids. He would get extra tickets and he would give it to friends. He was like the fucking Mother Teresa of Chicago Bears, just so generous and stuff. And so I was like looking at him saying, I want to be him. I want to be Santa Claus.
That's where I first met him. He sat with us at Bourbonnais.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at, man. I want to spread the wealth. I want to enjoy these moments, and this is a special season. Our expectations are worthy. It's worthy for us. It's legitimized. It's validated that we should expect a winning season. We should expect promising seasons for championships in the near future and stuff. So this is the foundation. This is where we're at. If we don't get it, then this show and every other show in Barroom Network, and I will fucking push Greg Gabriel to into the pit with us fans, because he separates us from he's been in the business.
He's a Buffalo Bills fan.
Yeah, that's right. He's a Buffalo Bills fan.
He doesn't root for the Bears, no matter.
Really,
yeah, he definitely does.
Yes, indeed. And so I just want to make sure if the Bears fail us this season, I am going to fucking be the devil. And I know Tooch is too, because Tooch and I are like Siamese twins when it regard. Exactly. There goes the wheel.
Cliff makes a great point.
No.
What are the odds? He says, print up a Barroom Network press pass, carry a camera. I've got the camera. I've got the camera.
Yes. Oh my God.
How do we get the press pass here? Come on.
I will work on that. I promise you. And that would be one of the cool things about this whole operation here at the Barroom Network is I would love to put Zim in a position with him and his camera and his artistic abilities to pick up images and sounds and things that we can share.
I'm planning on bringing my camera to Chicago when I go.
Mm-hmm.
I've already looked up the camera policy for training camp, and it says no camera or no lenses. You can bring detachable lenses, but you can't bring them any longer than 3 inches. So
right.
Thankfully, I have a good measuring stick for that, but I have to be able to, figure out which one is going to maximize that 3-inch limitation they give me.
Right.
And I've already kind of got an idea because I have a lens that's 2.8 inches, right? So in theory,
that's
it
the
fits, but I have to use an adapter to get it onto my camera. And with the adapter, it comes out. There you go, Shorty. You got it. Anyway, I have to use an adapter for it, and the adapter makes it stick out further than 3 inches.
Okay.
So anyway, these are the images from last time I went to Bears training camp.
All right, let it focus. Okay, I see it. Okay,
This
so at that point, where is the zoom feature? I mean,
this
it's
is
not
out
totally
in Dove
zoomed, right?
Valley. This is
Okay.
in Dove Valley, Colorado.
Okay.
So I went to the Bears Broncos joint practices back when I lived out there.
Uh-huh.
And this says this is a 170 millimeter zoom for this kind of picture. And I was probably about, hang on, got to put it in front of my face.
Exactly.
Sorry. This was probably about 100 to 150 yards away
Okay.
from the play at 170 millimeters. So the way that I figured it out is that with this camera that I've got and the extender and the lens that I've got, I can get about 135 millimeters of zoom. So it won't be quite that zoomed in. But the thankful part is that this was taken at, and this is all technical jargon for people, but this was taken at 12 megapixels. My camera will take pictures at 24 megapixels. So to be roughly twice the resolution at the same relative depth. So that's all a lot to say. I can potentially get some decent pictures if I can get away with taking the lens that I've got and they let me get away with it with the extender on there. Otherwise, I'm stuck with the regular 85 millimeters. And at that point, I'm not even going to bother trying to get a zoom lens. I'm going to take a good lens to take some nice pictures of my family, you know, doing all the activities there. Because from what I understand, and I have never been to Chicago Bears facilities before.
House Hall.
Yes, House Hall. I've been to Dove Valley to see them, but yeah, not to Chicago to see them. And so from what I understand, again, there's a lot of family oriented stuff there. There's a lot of stuff for the kids to do. There's a lot of like food and drinks and, you know, so there's supposedly not a bad place to watch practice from. So, and this is all according to former barroom member Greg Braggs Jr., who is now part of CHGO. He did a fantastic write-up for anybody going to training camp. He did a fantastic write-up on allchgo.com about what to expect for training camp as a fan.
Awesome.
Which I read through this morning because
I gotta check that
I'm going.
Yeah.
It's my first time and I'm going. So I was curious about, you know, what's there. And again, he did a wonderful write-up about it. There's so much detail. Pictures of him and his daughter there doing all of the
maybe we can get
cool
Braggs
family
on the
stuff.
show during training camp.
That would be cool.
Absolutely. Well, I have my camera there. I'm sure I'm going to run into him, and I will definitely ask him for an interview, a short interview. I'm hoping on those 4 dates, hopefully more dates that I'll be out there, that I can run into barflies and people of interest and do short interviews and share them on this show, Bare Their Souls, because that's what I want this show to be. I want this to be about the fan experience. I want this to be about our creativity. I can't stress enough how important that is to me as not only a Bears fan, but also a producer of TV shows and creative things. I want to really, really use the talents of Tooch and Zim to tell the story of the Chicago Bears. We have a great story to share, a hopeful story to share, and I think that these guys have all the talents to do something special. I'm really, really
We
proud.
can send Aldo's AI composer.
That's right.
That guy's working overtime.
He sure fucking is. And when I share the password and all that stuff with you and Zim, he's gonna really be working overtime. But you know, let's have fun. And what the final message regarding this topic that I want to share with people in the chat and people who watch our show on demand, if you have ideas on how to help us mold and create this show, this new iteration of Bare Their Souls, please share it with us. What Zim and Tooch and I have talked about is we're going to have a 4th and 5th and maybe even 6th, 7th, 8th person on certain shows, and we want it to be a very, very creative way at looking at the Chicago Bears, and we want to crowdsource you guys into helping us develop this new iteration of Bare Their Souls now that unfortunately Dan Aguirre can't be with us. Guys, want to add to that? I know you got thoughts on it.
I've got all kinds of thoughts about everything, man. You know that. No, I love the different people I've gotten to meet through this network, and whether that's through White Sox or Bears programming, it's always fun to have different people because there's always new perspectives and new ideas that can be thrown out there. It's one of the reasons why I've stayed with this network for so long, is because not only do a lot of people grow and go into other spaces that, you know, they continue to bring these outside perspectives to, but it's a true melting pot of ideas, and we don't get that without new people joining all the time, without new people contributing, and without people challenging our ideas. Because so often, don't we all listen to these podcasts and these ideas, and it's just a bunch of talking heads agreeing with each other and patting each other on the back and standing in a giant circle jerk with one another, and it's like, what are we even, why are you even talking right now? Like, what was the point of this program? And so that's the fun of it all, is it is to challenge each other, to encourage critical thinking, something that I talked about last week. So it's all about doing that in a productive way, creating camaraderie while doing it all, and supporting our favorite team through the end of it. Because at the end of the day, we're all Bears fans. There's no reason to attack each other. There's no reason to attack other fan bases, because they're just doing the same things we are for their favorite team. There's no reason to be deconstructive with any of it.
Right. Yeah, and Sam, you really touched on something that is near and dear to my heart, and I know Tooch can talk about this as well. When we go into social media, there is so much vitriol between Chicago Bears fans that it really is off-putting. You know, yes, we will disagree on who the starting quarterback should be, or who this decision, whatever the fucking decision is. We can all disagree, but it sometimes gets so fucking personal and so angry and vile at times that's not how we should be. We should be above that. That's for the Packers to be. That's for the Lions fans to be. That's for the Vikings fans to be. In Chicago, we fans, this Bears fandom, should be together, and if we disagree on a topic, we should do it as gentlemen and gentlewomen, so that, you know, we all know what the focus is. And what is the saying that's going on? To keep the number one thing number one. The number one thing number one is us winning a Super Bowl. And if we disagree on how that should be done, let's talk about it, but let's not call each other names and stuff like that.
Well, and it's funny because you can really tell the difference between Bears fans from Chicago versus Bears fans not from Chicago.
Yes.
Because there's a certain brotherhood, a certain respect, a certain level of understanding amongst us all. Like, when you get a Bears fan from upstate New York, they don't show the same level of camaraderie as the guys from Chicago, you know? And yeah, they're still part of the Bears brotherhood because at the end of the day, we've all chosen to root for this dog shit club. But, you know,
well, you know, Sam, you bring up a really good point, because one of the things that surprised me a lot during my time here at the Barroom Network is when talking to Mike North, and Mike North is the epitome of the Chicago sports fans. He has made millions of dollars by behaving like a Chicago sports fan on the airwaves, and he's been beloved by that. But one of the things that I was kind of shocked by is when, you know, he and I, because he has a minority ownership in this network, he and I have talked about some of the talents and so forth. And sometimes when it comes to him evaluating or sharing an opinion about a non-Chicagoan sports fan, it's like, whoa, Mike. He thinks of certain people as outsiders, you know, because he takes a lot of pride in being born in Chicago and being a diehard Chicago sports fan, having lost with the Bears and the Cubs and the White Sox and the Bulls and the Blackhawks for so many years. He says they don't understand what we've gone through. And I
Yep.
agree with that,
Yeah.
but I also embrace fans from all around the world, and he may not be quite there yet. And I'll ask Mike if he wants to come on the show and talk about that more, because I shouldn't be sharing his point of view without his acknowledgement.
Would
But
love to have him on.
yeah, he'd be fun. You got
He
to
blazed the trail for the first sports fan broadcaster.
Yes,
You know,
that's exactly
pretty much.
that's
That was-
exactly right.
You know, that
Exactly.
was the charm of the score back in the day.
Yes.
when it
Right.
broke.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Greg Braggs is the modern day Mike North, as far
Yes.
as I'm concerned.
Yes.
He's the true fan to broadcaster
Yep.
experience. The guy who literally, Mike grew up slinging hot dogs and smoking pot on the
Yep.
corner, and Greg grew up, slinging
Laying-
mortar, laying
laying
bricks, and
Yep.
and doing what he had to do. Grinding to get to where
Yeah.
he is, and he still doesn't even live in Chicago, and he's doing the thing.
Yeah, he started on Barroom Network. Right.
Yeah, that's right, Greg. I think this was his first gig. Not an official gig. He was
Podcasting,
doing volunteer work, and he was beloved on the Bears 100 Proof show,
Yep.
and then had his
He had
show with
Brags
Joe
in the
Mando,
Stands.
Fans in the Stands. It was called first.
Bragg.
They did Fans in the Stands, and they went
Right.
on his own and did Brags in the Stands, and he did
Right.
such a hell of a job. CHGO picked him
Yeah.
up, and
Yes,
that's why I say he's a modern day Mike North. It's
He
all
really is.
similar.
That one
And-
time, Phil had him sing a song. Oh my God, that was so fun. I had to cut the outtakes for that. The
Yeah,
audio.
That's
I
right.
cut the outtakes. At the song where he would stop in the middle. You go, God damn it, I can't fucking do this. It was so fun. I was laughing so hard I was crying on that show. That was so funny.
I love it. And so, I think what we're all talking about here is this family of Chicago Bears fans. And we welcome, Mr. Shorty is in the chat right now. Jeff Willis, who has his podcast on this network, and other people in the chat right now. We all want to talk and celebrate the Chicago Bears fans. And as the Chicago Bears team, and as fans of that team, we should hold ourselves to a higher level and be much more reluctant to cause a fellow Bears fan an idiot and an asshole for their idiot and asshole opinions.
And just to back myself up real quick, all right, before I get called a hypocrite for living in Iowa and living in Denver and being a Bears fan, my birth certificate says Cook County on it. All right.
Cook County Hospital?
No.
Oh.
But I was
County,
born in
Illinois.
Cook County. All right.
What was the name of the hospital?
Evanston Hospital.
Okay.
Oh, comes from money.
I do not.
I wasn't even born in Cook County. I was born in Minneapolis.
Really?
My mom and dad were living up there. My dad was working there. He's from Chicago.
Oh, I
He
didn't know
married
that.
a Minneapolis gal.
Wow.
Wow.
And they moved here shortly after. I mean, I only lived in Minneapolis for like 2 months before they moved back to Chicago.
No, as I say, I've returned to the motherland. My dad's side of the family is from Iowa and Missouri, so it's only natural I eventually wound up here, right?
Yeah.
But at any rate, just again to back myself up, that birth certificate, we can check it. All right, we can go back. You want to go back to the 2008 debates? I will bring the birth certificate, and we can.
You got to bring it. You got to bring it because there's a lot of people in the chat room who are wondering whether this is all legit. and I was born in New York City and moved to Chicago in 1966 when I was 7 years old, and I got to tell you, my first sports loves were all Chicago teams. The 1969 Chicago Cubs have done more harm to my psyche than seeing my mother
the Miracle
have sex
Mets.
with my
No.
stepfather. Yeah, right. Exactly.
You're Ron Santo, right?
I mean, geez. I mean, I had the Cubs
I had it,
Power
yep.
T-shirts. I'm walking down the street and
Yep.
so forth. And when it came to mid-September, I'm walking with my Cubs Power T-shirt, and people are saying, "Yeah, where's that Cubs Power now?" Yeah, it scarred me. It scarred me. And then the Blackhawks were in the Stanley Cup Finals the following year, and they have a 3-2 lead in the series against the Canadiens. They lose in Montreal in a close game, and then in the Game 7 at Chicago Stadium, Andre Richard gets past Keith Magnuson, scores the game-winning goal in the third period, and I was scarred. And then I turn on a White Sox game, and you could hear the stadium, the TV announcer's voice echoing throughout the empty stadium. I'm like, what the fuck? This is Chicago. What's wrong with fans? We should be, I've always been, and I'd love to get your opinion on this, guys. I've always been of the opinion that I'll go see a Cubs game in the afternoon and cheer for the Cubs. And then at night, take the train over to Comiskey Park and cheer for the White Sox. What's wrong with that?
I always love both teams. I don't know. I know.
I root for the Cubs because I root for the city. I don't like the Cubs. I don't like the Cubs.
I love the Cubs this year, man. They're hitting home runs left and right, man. I've never seen the Cubs hit this many home runs.
But
almost everybody's got double-digit home runs.
But I agree with Zim if he means that the ownership of the Chicago Cubs, just like the ownership of the Chicago White Sox, doesn't deserve our love. Is that what you were saying, Zim?
To an extent, yes, absolutely. The Cubs have made a lot of the right decisions over the years, and it's very frustrating to watch from 3 miles away. Mentally, obviously, I'm 500 miles away from both of them, but from just a train ride down the tracks, to see a team that seemingly knows what they're doing, that knows how to put it together, that even in the midst of ownership changes and management changes, still seems to be able to put together a product that sells and is interesting. And while they might not win often, they win enough that it's fun to watch them do it, at least in my lifetime. Right? Because I grew up a baseball player. I've not hid that by any means, but I'm no longer on South Burbs Hitmen, and I don't know how much crossover this has. So for anybody curious about my background, I was a baseball player for about 12 to 15 years of my life, and I'm in my young 30s now. So this is about a third to half my life. I was a baseball player, and I grew up in the era of Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire and Barry Bonds, right? And Barry Bonds lives in California, so he's not really somebody I was looking up to. I tried for a little while, and when I saw the pictures of him on the Pirates versus the Giants, I was like, I can't root for this guy. Mark McGwire's from St. Louis, arguably the shittiest city in the U.S. And then there's Sammy Sosa, who's a train ride up the tracks from the White Sox. So why wouldn't I root for the guy?
Absolutely.
I played outfield from the time that we were actually assigned positions rather than just go out and play, so from roughly 11 years old until I broke my shoulder diving for a ball last year.
Last year?
It was actually last year. It was about 15 months ago. I broke my shoulder diving for a ball. I haven't played since. This was softball, not baseball, but regardless, I played outfield, and what did I do when I played outfield? I sprinted out to my position. Why? Because Sammy Sosa did. It was just a cool thing to do. So I ran out there and I played hard, man. And it sucks because my favorite players then after that were, Paul Konerko and AJ Pierzynski, and I don't know. I had a lot of favorites on the White Sox, but Sammy Sosa is probably the first player I really remember looking up to. Ken Griffey Jr. Now, he was the first baseball player I knew by name, but Sammy Sosa was the first guy I really looked up to and wanted to be like as a baseball player. So that's why it's really conflicting for me to be a Sox fan and be like, I really can't stand Cubs fans, to be completely honest with you. I can't stand most of them. I find them to be somewhat argumentative and ignorant about the game, but that's just my opinion, and opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. So
I got to tell you, I mean, you just offered up about 20 different things that I love to comment on. And of course, I won't. So I'll just pick one.
it's fine. It'll all come back around. I love to talk about myself.
Well, it's not only yourself, you're introducing interesting topics like Cub fans being idiots and so forth. I've been to a couple of Cub games where I'm just like kind of focused on the crowd around me, and it's like these people don't really give a fuck what's going on in the field. They're just here to drink and socialize and be seen. They don't really care about the Cubs unless something happens, a home run, an RBI, and then they turn to the field, and then they applaud and go wild and act stupid and so forth. But then the game commences, and then they're talking about, yeah, I can't get a job anywhere, or yeah, she was supposed to be my babysitter, and so I'm just kind of focused on the crowd around me, and I'm like, they don't give a shit as to what's going on. I go to fucking Guaranteed Rate Stadium, and I look at the fans, and there's two types. There's the fan that is totally fucked up and just like, yeah, fuck you, man. I bet you're really a Cubs fan and stuff. Or there's the fan that is like, oh my God, I can't believe we're so fucking bad. Oh gosh, we suck so bad. And it's a totally different experience. And when I was a kid and I would go to the old Comiskey Park, that was a fucking tavern. You know, I knew I was going to get into a fight at old Comiskey Park, or that I would go over to center field and go into the showers, you know, they had the center field showers and stuff, or that I would go up to the upper deck and smoke some reefer with my friends and stuff. But at Wrigley Field, it's a totally different, more kind of family experience and socializing experience, where at Comiskey Park and Guaranteed Rate, it's much more of a commiserating, down on our luck, you know, south side of Chicago, we get no respect, no love type of feeling. It is weird. By the way, there's one other thing I want to say about Zim Zimmerman.
Zimmerman and the hard rockin' style, undiscovered music genius. And the Chicago Bears, bet on Chicago Bears. Take me to Soldier Field, the only place that I feel alive. And every time I leave, a little part of me dies. Hard rockin' style of a man named Zimmerman.
There he is.
Well, focus.
What's going on with that $60,000 camera?
It's my pink fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows beer. I'm ready to try it after that.
But those of you watching live, if you just joined us earlier in the show, we welcome Steven Zimmerman to the Barroom Network's Bear Their Soul show. He's been with the network for basically since its inception. He's written for our old website. He's been on a number of different shows. He and I have had a long time relationship. At one point, we were fighting with one another. We won't get into that.
It was a week.
There was a week of fighting. It was
maybe
so
like
fun.
3 months, but yeah. I genuinely don't remember.
But at his core, he is a Barroom Network guy, and I am so lucky to say that because he's got enormous talent, wit, and creativity that he's going to bring to this show, Bear Their Souls. Thank you, Zim, for agreeing to be a part of this show. And Tooch, I know you want to send some accolades and kisses and hugs to Mr. Zimmerman. So go ahead.
After he told me I talk out of both sides of my mouth. Fuck that guy.
He hasn't forgotten that.
You're fired.
Look, I had to wait until you guys named me a permanent member to actually I'm not doing it, all right?
What the fuck?
That is so cool.
I still think my point was a reasonable one, all right? I think that you backed yourself up very agreeably, and I can understand where you're coming from. I'm just pointing out that I can see that you're making two arguments at the same time sometimes.
I wasn't making an argument for the Bears to do that. I just was saying that's what Ryan Poles does.
No, you're absolutely not wrong.
Right, absolutely. By the way, I just caught out of the corner of my eye people talking about the Kurt Russell movie Used Cars. Have you guys ever seen that movie?
All-time classic.
Oh my gosh.
So funny.
Yes. I mean, we're talking
Jack
about
Warden plays
late
twin
70s.
brothers.
Yes. Late 70s, early 80s, used cars.
Yeah, I gotta say it's like 77, 78.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Down there.
That would make sense. Absolutely. Great comedy film. Kurt Russell, used car dealer, a lot of, jokes that you would expect, but it just goes a little bit beyond.
That was his first like adult movie.
Yes.
Not like
Because he was a Disney star before
that.
that.
A star of Disney. Then he came out. There's all this swearing and some tits.
Yes. Good stuff. I really, really enjoyed that movie. I don't know how that conversation got started in the chat, but Used Cars is one of my favorite all-time movies from that era.
That was classic. They're talking about that price is too effing high. Like they just go to the other lot and blow shit up.
Exactly. Yeah. By the way, oh shit! I didn't even mean to do that. Let me see if I can recover that. No, I can't. Anyway, I wanted to share something. One of the things, and Zim and Tooch, I think you guys, need to pick up the ball a little bit more in terms of this part of the show, Bare Their Souls, which is the concept that was developed by Dan Aguirre and myself, is that he was going to come on to the show, not me so much, but him, because he's such an entertaining figure, but talk about his sex life and talk about things that have happened in the past. He was going to bare his souls. And so I'm not expecting Zim or Tooch or even myself, although I probably will, to share intimate details of our life. But there are difficulties. Exactly. But there are certain things that I think, in order to ascribe or to pay fealty to the concept of the show, that we should share. So I wanted to share one thing with you guys and then ask you guys to maybe share a similar type story. And that is, I'm going to share the screen here. When I was a late teenager and I got a job downtown Chicago, and so I went to the newsstands and I'm looking at the magazines and saying, holy shit, they got everything I want here. Pro Football Weekly, Sports Illustrated. I'm at the magazine stand, and then all of a sudden I feast my eyes on a big tit magazine, pornographic magazine. And so I said to myself, I got to take this home and do some further research on what this whole big tit thing is. And so one of these stars was a woman named Susan and Nero. And I fell in love with the fact that she was a huge-breasted pornographer, porn star, and she starred back in the 70s and 80s. Porno movies were movies with a plot, a beginning, a middle, and end. And
boring.
Boring. Well, that's all I knew at the time. But she was one of the big stars, at least in terms of big breast stars. She was one of the biggest. And one day when I was waiting at the bus stop to catch a bus to a train that would lead me to Columbia College, where I went to college, I saw on the marquee of the Oak Theater on Western Avenue, appearing live, Susan Nero. And so I'm like, fuck class, man. I'm going to go see Susan Nero. And I saw Susan Nero perform live. And when I was exiting the theater, I saw her in the lobby signing autographs with fans. And she was seated next to a gentleman, a big, big guy. In fact, he reminded me a lot of Revi Sorry, the offensive lineman of the Chicago Bears. And so I was not going to ask this lookalike of Revi Sorry to stand out of the way. I want to talk to her. So I didn't get a chance to talk to her, but I did get to meet, sort of, in a way, my pornographic star from yesteryear, Susan Nero. Guys, you got
That
a
was the
similar
golden
story?
age.
The golden age of
porno films. Yeah.
Yes.
They had plots, they were corny. It was the
Zim, I can't believe you
70s.
can appreciate that.
Yeah, Zim has no idea. That was a different era.
Genuinely, it was a different era.
Yep.
And but Zim, I ask you this: what's wrong with having a little plot in your pornography?
It creates unrealistic expectations for scenarios like that in real life. It genuinely ruined a generation. Well, I shouldn't go that far, but it ruined certain expectations from a certain generation of men because they no longer felt that they knew how to talk to women. And it created this entire phenomenon of the incel that we have today, where they expect these things. Every situation turns into a sexual one, and that's just not how life works. And sorry to put the damper on your films that you enjoy and to provide this modern twist. But
stuff that happens in movies doesn't happen every day,
and that's just it. For some reason these individuals
saying only in the movies.
And that's what I'm saying. For some reason, these guys can figure out that you're not, just because you're really good at mining Bitcoin doesn't mean the government's going to call you and tell you have to stop a terrorist organization like Live Free and Die Hard, or Live Free or Die Hard, excuse me. But they can separate myth from reality on that one, but they can't separate, hey, this really cute pizza delivery driver just showed up. I guess she doesn't want to suck my dick. And I don't know where that line became blurred for these people, but unfortunately, that's what I grew up with in my generation is seeing the way that it distorted and twisted some men's perception of reality into a point where it became this entire perverse, unrealistic fantasy land that they lived in. And unfortunately, and on top of that, with the modern, I guess, woke culture or whatever you want to call it, the expectations between men and women, things like that, just, I don't know, they're looked down upon in a way.
I will not, and I want to get Tucha's opinion on this, so I apologize, Tucha, for jumping in. But I will not disagree with you that those films and all pornography has a tendency to degrade women. From anything from they being the subservient to male fantasies, to how they are treated like victims, fuck them hard and, put your foot on their face and stuff. That stuff is degrading. There's no doubt about it. But I do think that those, as Tuch said, that era of the 1970s pornography heading into the early 80s before videotape took over, that there was a sense of storytelling.
Yes.
Right. By these filmmakers, the Burt Reynolds and Boogie Nights. These guys really wanted to make films that were erotica and not exploitative. That's the word.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Zim.
No, I would agree with you in that sense. It's a tragedy that it degraded to the point that it did, because it truly went from being a point of art, albeit to some people crude, classless, tasteless art, but art nonetheless, because we still have that to this day, art nonetheless, to what it is now, which is jack off material,
Yes.
And it's nothing more than that.
Right.
And it's like, where does that line get drawn? I don't know, probably somewhere in the Cinemax era. But
well, yeah, I mean, it's interesting because so many people have so many different variety of different tastes on how they want to consume their pornography. Little Moose says Nina Hartley was one of his porn actress favorites from yesteryear. Tooch, do you remember Nina Hartley?
Vaguely.
She was actually
era,
in
yeah.
Boogie Nights.
Yeah.
She was a woman who was not only a pornography star, but also went on to talk about sex on shows like HBO and so forth. And then
Yeah, I remember that,
P.T.
yeah.
Anderson, recognized her acting talent and her acumen about things of pornography, and he cast her in that role that she was the wife of William Macy, and she's having sex with another guy. And William Macy has had it. He fucking goes in and shoots her, shoots the lover, and that's the end of the 1970s. We go on to the video era of the 1980s. I'm of course describing Boogie Nights, the movie, but Tooch, what are your memories of that era when it comes to pornography? A young man starting to look into the stuff. You have any thoughts you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, they were more. They strived for story more than other. That's why I call it the golden era, because they did kind of try to get a story and then just add the adult element into it, But yeah, and then video came along in the 80s. It kind of just became, let's just get as many out there as we could. But back when it was shot on film, the filmmakers actually wanted to tell, a story, whether it was like comedy or coming of age or some kind of other story along those lines. But and some of the folks who worked in that medium, they were real cinematographers like Russ Meyer, who had all elements of camera angle and story and comedy. I love the Russ Meyer movies. There's nothing like them.
Yes.
And they weren't really like hardcore pornography, though. They were softcore.
No, definitely softcore. But Russ Meyer had a ability as a filmmaker to make it so visually interesting. It wasn't just about the big boobs and sexy, curvaceous women in very saturated colors and fast cutting. It was his filmmaking style that was just outstanding.
Yeah,
By the way,
the camera angles and scenery and the storytelling, the comedy, the comedic timing was all great. He had a story and everything.
Yes, indeed.
Well, it wasn't the greatest stories, but they were all better.
They were comic book movies.
Yeah, comic book movies.
Absolutely.
Perfect description.
Roger Ebert, who is well regarded as one of the best film critics of all time, he actually wrote 2 or 3 of the scripts to his hardcore movie under a pseudonym. He wasn't credited as Roger Ebert. He had a pseudonym because he wanted to keep that secret. But
Beyond the Valley of the Dolls,
I went to at the 3 Penny Cinema, Tucci, you may remember, across the street from the Biograph Theater on Lincoln Avenue. I went to the premiere of The Return of the Ultra Vixens. And so I went into this, it's a small theater, about 300 seats. I went in and got my seat in the back. It was again, the theater was packed. And so they screened the movie. And then after the movie, Russ Meyer talks and he's answering questions and so forth. And then he acknowledges Roger Ebert, who I did not know was in the theater, but he acknowledges Roger Ebert as a co-writer. And there I lifted my head, and there's Roger Ebert.
All 5'6" of them.
And I'm thinking to myself, he's just like me, a horny motherfucker.
I love Roger. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, he was a very prolific
he and Siskel were the blazed the trail of film critic.
Yes, exactly.
Film critic, a popular occupation.
Yep. For sure. No doubt about it. By the way, Mr. Shorty is reminding us that this show here, Bear Their Souls, has a new sponsor. We're going to unveil that next week because, Mr. Shorty, frankly, I forgot to fucking load the video. So I'll have to do it next week. But we do have a new sponsor and lots of great stuff ahead for Bear Their Souls. I can't tell you how excited I am that Zim is joining the team as a regular. We still continue to hope to bring in 4th and 5th guest hosts and 6th and 7th and have a full party type atmosphere as the season progresses. And again, we're listening to your suggestions as to, what you'd like to see us deliver on the shows. Do you want me to bring back the media highlights that I used to do with Dan Aguirre? Do you want more of Tuch's Bear State of Affairs? Not that he can give us any more.
I know, right? It's hard to come up with that stuff every week.
Right, I'm sure, especially now. I mean, kudos to you. The last 2 weeks, you just came up with stuff out of the limited news that's available.
The hamsters were working overtime up there, spinning the wheels.
I could smell it all the way from Omaha.
And
I didn't get a chance to stop by and see you. I had to cut my trip a day short because I thought I was getting the cataract surgery.
Did it not happen? I
No,
guess
because
not. You're wearing the glasses.
I know. I like the Thursday. I'm driving out, from Des Moines to Western Nebraska, and the eye surgeon's office calls me and they say the doctor had a family tragedy or emergency or whatever it was. And I was like, oh crap! I requested all these days off and stuff. So I was like, all right, well, they call me back today and I'll get the surgery on the 28th of July. So one eye and then the other one in August. But I was looking forward to having my eyes fixed. It's getting hard to do my job. Even my left eye is starting to get blurry and stuff. To get the point where
I'm sure
my wife is driving most of the time,
Hopefully, Trump hasn't taken away the Social Security benefits that might help you there. But that's a different story for a different day.
I have good insurance with it. Should be fully paid for with.
Don't worry about that. We live in Iowa. They took that away a long time ago.
That's right. I love what Mr. Shorty says here. He says, Zim is great with you. Love the new show. Still miss Dan, but I get it. Dude got some pussy and disappeared. Yeah, isn't that like the reality of the situation for us men? Once we get married, once we fall in love, and then once we start having sex, all of a sudden, things are not quite the same in terms of the creative output to what we do and what we're passionate about, which is why I have been so busy on the Bears Barroom Network here producing stuff, because my sex life is not what it used to be.
Yeah, just like, too tired tonight. I'm just gonna sleep.
Yeah,
I guess that is something I never considered. I kind of went from an exhibitionist, playing all my music all day, to being more of a voyeur, taking the pictures of people playing music all day.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Tell us more and share those pictures.
I'm not involved, but I want to be. So.
I have some pictures from my trip, though. Aldo, I loaded.
Yes, have you loaded those?
Yep.
I asked Tooch because before the show he was talking about his vacation. I said, dude, you got to share this with people. And I saw some of his pictures on Facebook. So take it away, Tooch.
Yep. So last Friday, we were going to go to the lake, but it was rainy and overcast, and it's about 75. So I said, let's just drive up to Scottsbluff, Nebraska, and on the way stop at Chimney Rock, which was a landmark along the wagon trail. That's Chimney Rock, and that is I think that's Bayard, Nebraska. And then we went to Scottsbluff, which there's a Scottsbluff monument. That was another significant trail marker on the Oregon Trail. That's in.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, Scottsbluff, Nebraska, and Gehring, Nebraska. These are.
When I played the game, I usually died of dysentery by the time I got to that.
Right there. And then some of the scenery along this is from the top of Scottsbluff. Really beautiful views. And then another view of the top. This was originally they called this area the High Plains. If you remember, they had a movie. Clint Eastwood had a movie called High Plains Drifter in the 70s. I don't know if Aldo probably saw that one.
No. Yes.
Classic.
Is this photo Lake McConaughey?
Lake McConaughey, and I was just like, we stopped along the edge. I was like, this is like a perfect little path, like someone's farmer's land. We stopped. It was a scenic stop point along the road to the lake. I stopped off there, but lake is just beautiful. Yeah, that was a really nice trip, and that part of the country is just really pretty. You wouldn't think, Nebraska, it's all flat and cornfields, but
yeah, it's much less flat
west,
than people realize.
Oh yeah, Iowa's even a lot less flat than people think. There's like a lot of hilly. I mean, Des Moines is really hilly.
Well, I mean, I live in the middle of the bluffs. I live in a very hilly area. A lot of people think of this area as a lot of tornadoes come through here, we're actually very protected where I live because there's nothing but sharp hills and drop-offs nearby. In fact, I went mountain biking today, and I'm going up inclines that are probably 40 degrees on my bike, just like hoping that I can make it. Fun fact, I couldn't, but I tried.
I didn't like the runs of that much, though, Zim.
No, see, I told you it wears on you, man.
Yeah, I maybe I'll give it another chance later, but the kind of sour cabbage taste kind of turned me off a little bit.
Yeah. Well, next time you come through town, let me know. You come visit me. I'll buy
I
you a
will.
beer. You can, because I'm probably going to be if you're coming through on a weekend, I'll be working. I can guarantee.
Yeah. We got to go.
But you come through town, I'll buy you a beer. You can get yourself some good food. And
what about like a Sunday? No, you're still working Sundays?
I usually work Sundays at this point. Yeah. I'm seeing what I can do about that, but I gotta shore up some things before I can get Sundays off.
I'll have to take a Monday off. But your days off are like Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
At this point, Wednesday, Thursday.
Thursday. Okay.
Zim, what is the date you're going to be in Chicago for Bears training camp?
So I will be at training camp on the 14th and leaving Chicago the next day. So that is kind of what I'm hoping.
Oh, really? Wow.
What's that?
That's a short trip.
Be there for about a week ahead of time.
Oh, okay. All right.
Excuse me. I'm kind of glad it worked out that it's going to be the last full day that I'm there because to me, that's the highlight of the trip. And I'm hoping that for my kids, it will be as well, so long as we get the opportunity to get some signatures and meet some players and stuff like that. In fact, just earlier today, I pulled not a super rare, but a pretty nice Caleb Williams card here.
Oh, yeah.
That I would love to get signed by him at training camp. And considering
it's beautiful.
Considering it's the last day of training camp that the Bears will be at training camp, because the following day will be a joint practice with the Bills. And I'm sure we're all expecting everybody to go and want to talk to Mitchell Trubisky while he's there.
Oh, yeah. Right north, front of the line.
Little side note, I was genuinely considering what jersey, if any, I want to wear to training camp. I might just wear this shirt because it's training camp in August, and this is a
can
nice.
You stand up and reveal that a little more?
It's a nice lightweight, light-colored shirt.
Yes.
But
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I don't want to, interrupt you too much.
You're fine.
But did you play with the Bears with Techno?
No.
Yeah, because they were bad, right?
I used the Raiders.
Bo Jackson.
Bo Jackson. The Chiefs were pretty good too in that with Christian Okoye, but
yes.
Bo Jackson.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Good stuff. Anyway, go ahead.
But at any rate, I'm hoping that getting to go to the Bears practice and hopefully getting the boys some signatures. I've still got a full-size Chicago Bears football that I'm probably going to try to bring with to get signed. Maybe I'll see if I can get Caleb Williams to autograph my Rex Grossman hat. How funny would that be?
That would be awesome.
It'd be pretty funny to me, honestly.
Yes.
The last two Chicago Bears quarterbacks to play in a Super Bowl. How's that?
Exactly. I love the idea of coming up with, unique things that somebody can autograph for you that makes it, commentary. That's a good one. That's definitely a good one.
But yeah, I mean, I'm really hoping it'll be the highlight of the trip because we got all kinds of stuff planned. Millennium Park and Maggie Daly Park, since they're right near each other. We're probably going to hit the Field Museum as long as we're in that direction. We want to go to the Lincoln Park Zoo. I really want to take an architecture tour of Chicago on the river because I did that last time I was there, and
those are awesome.
A blast.
Yep.
Such a blast. My wife wants to have a date night somewhere in the city, and I'm like, I'm sure we can find a place to do that. And,
absolutely.
And my cousin lives out there, somewhat Ukrainian village area. Aldo, you met him last time I was at the Bears game with you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember him.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So he still lives out there, of course. And you know, I'm sure he'll have some secret spots for me to hit because he has the last couple times I've been there. So,
Well, I'd love to meet your family, and so let's talk off air about maybe having lunch together, breakfast or dinner, what have
of
you,
course.
and spend some time. Our house right now is in the midst of a renovation, so when you're in town, we're still going to be missing some furniture. So.
Well, we'll be staying in Rodgers Park, which isn't wildly far from you as far as being in the city goes.
Yeah.
So maybe we even just find a place in the middle to have lunch or dinner or something.
We definitely will. They count on that. So again, the date that you're in town, or I should say the date that you will be at Hallis Hall, is which one?
I will be at Hallis Hall August 14th. I've got my tickets. They are secured. I will be there on August 14th. Aldo, you'll be my first call if my son is short enough to have an extra ticket.
Okay, sounds good. I will be at the day before on the 13th and 3 other dates, and hopefully, as I mentioned earlier in the show, Greg will invite me to that VIP event that he probably will have access to. And Tooch, if you're in town during that period, let's talk. I would love for us to get together. But even bigger than that, the Barroom Network has hosted an event 3 out of the last 4 years with Barroom Network personnel and some barflies and so forth. So I'm hoping to have that event happen again. I will keep everyone posted because, what basically it is, we pick a weekend where the Bears are at home and we have the party on Saturday, and then people are still in town because people come from all over, like John Buffon comes in from Pennsylvania, et cetera, and then people go to the Bears game. So I will be announcing that as soon as possible.
Do you do that preseason or
no?
You try
it's
to
during
do it
the season. It's usually September, October, or November. We don't wait till December because it gets too cold.
Fine. I won't have enough PTO to go back by then.
Well, but when you are here, sir, you and your family are going to be wined and dined by Aldo Gandia and Donna, his wife. So, and Jeff says, Aldo, I want to know all about that VIP event. Absolutely. This is why I do this. This is my biggest social outlet. Fulfilling my social needs is through the Barroom Network, because other than that, I'm at home, I'm watching porn, I'm all by myself in a dark basement, and I need to interact with people from time to time. So.
Now, if there's any way we can get that press pass, all right? You can see this lens is clearly larger than 3 inches. All right.
Oh, yes.
But it gets me that 400 millimeter reach.
Look at that. That's like my penis. Go ahead. Do that again. There you go. That's exactly like my penis. Thank you.
I don't know, man. All I'm saying is that press pass would be real nice for the camera and me,
Absolutely.
For the photographer and me, for the camera usage. But I don't know, man. That's the dream. Like last year, my son played some flag football. So I went out there with my camera and I took pictures for all the kids. And, it's super great to be able to give back to your community in that way. Like I think about when I was younger, right? And I've got pictures of me like when I was like 5 years old playing baseball and when I was like 12 years old playing baseball. And I don't have a whole lot more outside of that. And so I'm like, let me give back to these parents. Let me give them some pictures of their kids playing, the way that I feel like I missed out on. And in a day and age where it's so easy to just pick up your phone and snap a picture and then leave it in your fucking photos folder and forget about it. Like how much more meaningful is it to have that like professional level quality, not just of your kid, standing there with the football, but actually playing the sport that they love and doing that thing. So, it ignited that spark in me to like, man, I'd love to go shoot some, we've got a minor league team up in Omaha here. And it'd be cool to go shoot that or to go to a Bears practice and get to take my camera and all that. So
that is awesome, Zim. I really, really love that you're doing that. So, In subsequent shows, I'd love for you to share some of those images with us, because I think that will be delightful for us.
Hey, I'm always happy to share the pictures I take of musicians because they pay me, and that's like full release and everything. As far as the
That becomes
photos of the
more difficult. Yeah,
as
with
far as
kids.
the photos of the kids, I don't really like sharing those publicly just because, they are minors. They are entitled to their privacy and all that. Maybe I can blur some faces of my child and share those with y'all, but that's about as far as I'd be willing to go. Just throwing that out there.
We
But
don't know what Tucci is going to do with those pictures.
all right. There's some things we don't joke about. Things that got Jeffrey Epstein in trouble are on that line.
Oh gosh, you guys want to talk about that at all? I mean, what the president said yesterday was just a big faux pas. Yeah, we don't care about.
The only thing I would say is that I think in order to be a president, you have to be on that Epstein list.
It sure seems like it.
It's a qualification for being president.
Yeah, it seems like it. Although there is no hint that Barack Obama would be on that list. But you're all right that a lot of Democrats, a lot of Republicans, a lot of celebrities are rumored to be on this list. And it is a shame that the promise that was made to us during the election cycle is not going to be fulfilled. In fact, it looks like it's going to get buried. And something big will happen in the news in the next day or two that will make us forget all about Jeffrey Epstein. But that was a dark moment there in politics.
All I know is somebody's lying. All right.
Ugh, they ain't kidding.
Someone's always lying.
That's right. It's
Exactly.
usually it was usually that guy, but we can't blame it on him anymore. Anyway,
and that's the biggest issue with this list not being released is we'll never find out if Matt Eberflus should be down in Alcatraz or not.
Alligator Alcatraz.
Jeez, that's another story. I mean, we could spend another 2 hours talking about the news stories from the last couple of weeks.
Oh my God, let's not.
Yeah, let's not do that.
That hurts my head enough.
Let's spend the last few minutes talking about pop culture. Anything that's going on that you've watched or listened to. Zim, one of the things that I'm really, really hoping that you will deliver on this show is music that I can start adding on my iPod on my iTunes list, because I'm always interested in listening to the new music that's available out there.
Sure.
Well,
brother? I don't have any new music at the moment. I might for you if you're willing to hear me out. My listening has become very one-dimensional lately, and that's just because of a lack of time to really go explore. But
I hear you.
As far as pop culture and music goes, it's not really current, but I teased last week that I had Jesus, I can hear the lighter from here, Aldo.
No, that wasn't me.
That wasn't me.
I teased that I had an exclusive documentary that wasn't really released to the general public, and I finally found some time to watch it. And damn, I get why the Rolling Stones didn't want that thing released to the general public, because it is, yeah.
What are we talking about here, Zim? Give us some context.
Here, let me look it up. I don't want to speak incorrectly about it.
Okay, I hear you. Tooch, do you know what he's talking about at all?
Which one?
Something regarding the Rolling Stones?
There was a Rolling Stones
documentary. I don't.
So back in 1972, the Rolling Stones recorded a documentary of what went on behind the scenes and on stage during their American tour. So this is the 1972 Rolling Stones American tour, and they didn't really have a whole lot of organization behind it. They just kind of had a bunch of cameras lying around. There was a director, there was a producer, there was a sound guy all on site. But the way that it was filmed was that at any point, anybody on the crew or in the band could just pick up a camera and start rolling. So what became of this is that there's some really interesting looks behind the scenes of the Rolling Stones. And yeah, Rock and Roll Circus, I see PZ in the chat. Rock and Roll Circus is a highly edited version of this.
Okay.
This particular film is called The Cocksucker Blues. Also a name of a song by the Rolling Stones. And in it, holy shit, sex, drugs, and rock and roll are running rampant through this whole thing. It is absolutely insane. So this is their first tour in the United States after the infamous Hells Angels incident in 1969. For those who are unaware, the Rolling Stones held a concert. They hired the Hells Angels as security, and multiple people. Sorry, I think it was just one person, but one person was stabbed to death at the concert by the Hells Angels.
Yes.
And it was all caught on camera, so there was no denying that any of this happened.
Yes.
So this all happened. And then so they took a little bit of a break from touring in the US. Then they came back, and again, they filmed the whole thing because they wanted to show, like, hey, we're the Rolling Stones. This is sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And there's a lot of sex, and there's a lot of drugs, and there's a little rock and roll. I mean, holy shit. I heard stories about Keith Richards and his drug usage. But oh my God, I never understood it until I watched this documentary. And it's a little hard to watch, both as far as content and as far as storytelling goes, because the storytelling is very non-existent. It's very much just a documentation of what happened. Some excellent performances are recorded on there throughout it. Particularly the one that stuck with me is a collaboration with Stevie Wonder and the Rolling Stones, and that might have been the most disturbing thing I saw through that whole thing. Was Stevie Wonder's glasses fell off at a moment, and I saw his eyes.
Yeah, one's that way, one's this way kind of thing. Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's got who was it? Tina Turner, I want to say, backstage doing cocaine with the band. Wow. It's got groupies like doing heroin in the hotel room with them. It's got them just like, there's like this girl there, like there's this one scene, and it's this girl there, and she's clearly just had sex with two of the members of the band, and a third member walks in and goes, oh, so this is what's on the plate for tonight, and just like leaves the room with her. And it's just like, what the hell? And I mean, it is jarring to say the least, especially by today's standards. And it's really funny because the person who
did Jeffrey Epstein make this movie?
I don't know, man. But the person who loaned me the ability to view this film said that after he watched it, he erased it from everything he owned. He no longer wanted evidence that this existed. And I'm like, I kind of understand that now, because yeah, that is insane. And yes, Jeff, watching live performances from the 70s, they were all on drugs. It is amazing how you're like, man, they really just got in the zone. It's like, no, they were tweaking hard. It's more impressive that they were able to perform and play the music at the level that they were able to do it at. Yeah, some great performances under the influence. I mean,
yeah, so true.
It was insane. So anyway, after they filmed all this, the band watched the film. They didn't like the way it portrayed them, and they sued the creator of it so that he's no longer able to show it unless it's in an artistic setting once a year with the band present. So,
by the way,
it's a bootleg video, correct?
I would never suggest such a thing. I would never suggest.
No, I'm just saying it's like stuff you'd find at a record show convention.
Yeah, potentially.
I've got a bootleg of this. Hey,
right,
right. The Gimme Shelter was they had hired the Hells Angels to do security.
Yeah, out in
Altamont. That's right.
Yeah,
and Altamont. Yeah.
Yep. By the way, make sure you check out Mr. Shorty's Bears Country Production show on Thursday. He's got the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing figured out. He's going to reveal that in an exclusive on Bears Country Productions on their network
Yeah,
here on
it's
YouTube.
not hard to figure out. The intelligence agencies are your president.
There you go. There you go. What
yeah,
did you watch, Stooch?
Monday was my daughter's, my youngest child, 7th birthday.
Oh, nice.
I was off for the surgery,
Right.
but didn't happen. So we took her to see the Lilo and Stitch live action
Fantastic.
Disney movie, and it was really good. I thought Zach Galifianakis is in it. He's very funny.
He's one of the funniest guys out there.
You know, he kind of stole the show a little bit, but the girl was fantastic. The little girl who plays Lilo, she was really funny. And then Courtney B. Vance is in it as well. Let's see who else is in it. I forget. Tia Carrera, who was an 80s kind of B movie, maybe soft Skinamax at the time. I think she dated one of the members of Motley Crue, if I remember. Tia Carrera. I don't remember exactly which one, but she's in it.
Sexy woman.
Yeah, she was hot when she was younger. And then
not so much now.
I can't. No, she doesn't look good now.
But that's all right. I don't look good
happens.
either.
But, I got a little teary at the end. I got to tell you.
Did you?
Yeah, because a little tearjerker, heartwarming. You know, the cartoon's a classic. The live action was a faithful rendition.
Oh, cool. Well, I'll have to check that out. I want to share with you guys that I watched this new HBO documentary called Surviving Ohio State. Have you guys heard of it?
No,
I have not watched it, but I've seen it. It intrigues me very much.
Yeah, it is. You know, documentaries. It took this college course, and it always made an imprint on my mind. You know, documentaries always have a point of view. Yes, documentaries are supposed to be unbiased, but as soon as you point the camera, yeah, right. As soon as you point the camera in one direction, you are already taking a point of view on something, and so it just mounts up. But I have to give it to this documentary is they tried hard to be impartial, but it is clear that they were condemning the acts of Ohio State University and trying to cover up the actions taken by their director of medicine, a guy named Richard Strauss. And Richard Strauss would basically give physicals to all the players from Ohio State University that were in the fencing team and in the swim team and in the gymnastics team.
I remember hearing about this.
And basically what he did was, all right, come on in. I have to give you a thorough exam. Drop your trousers. All right. And so this is how it's described by former victims, alleged victims of this, is that he would grab the testicles of the athlete, and then with the other hand, take the penis and start stroking it like this to make sure they didn't have a hernia or whatever. And some of the players in the documentary allege that the doctor would even get very, very close to the body as he's going like this. And so it is, and these athletes who are coming forward are saying, I'm doing it now because the women from the U.S. gymnastics team who claimed and were proven correct that the athletic director, or the Olympic athletic director, Nassar is his last name, was performing sexually abusive exams on the female gymnastics. They saw that happen and they were like, holy shit, the same thing happened to me. But they face the scrutiny, of course, of being men, gymnastics men who have muscles on top of muscles. How could they let somebody like that?
Wrestling or gymnastics?
You know what? You're absolutely right.
Okay, that was wrestling.
It is wrestling. I apologize. I got that wrong. And Jim Jordan, who is from Ohio and is a representative in Congress for Ohio, he was on that wrestling team at Ohio State, and he apparently was aware that stuff was going on, allegedly aware that stuff was going on, but did not come forward. And so the last 20, 30 minutes of the documentary kind of focuses on his and the head coach of the wrestling team not coming forward and helping the players with their allegations of sexual abuse. I think it's an excellent documentary. If you're into sports documentaries and so forth, I think it is kind of important for us sports fans to at least give a chance for these documentaries to present their point of view, but not necessarily walk away totally convinced. You have to do your own research to make sure that both sides are presented fully. Now, in the case of this documentary, the HBO producers or whoever were the producers of this documentary did reach out to Jim Jordan and did reach out to the head coach from the wrestling team, and they chose not to be interviewed, and so that's a bad look for them. But it's a very, very well done documentary. I've been watching a few of them on Netflix and on HBO Max, sports documentaries, and that's one of the better ones.
There's some good documentaries on Netflix. I did watch one. It was the train wreck, the poop cruise.
My wife
watched
just
that
watched
one?
that one.
That was fucking killer. That was great. I don't think I would have gone on a cruise that once. My wife and I went about a year and a half ago, and it was excellent, by the way. But I don't think I would have gone if I had watched that first.
Yeah,
like, no way.
I told my wife that because we've both been on a cruise at some point or another. Did we just lose Tooch altogether? I don't know.
Did we? No, he's here.
I don't know.
All right.
It booted me off. I didn't touch it.
Interesting.
Aldo got rid of me. No.
No, I'm fixing it. I apologize.
Wonder why it booted me.
Anyway, my wife and I have each been on cruises individually before we were together, and she brought up to me like, "Hey, we should go on a cruise sometime soon." I saw that pop up, and I was like, "I don't know if we really should."
Yeah. Aldo, you've never been on a cruise, have you?
I have never been on a cruise because I get a little queasy sometimes with the rocking stuff.
Oh, me too.
I did see that documentary about the poop thing, and
horrible.
I mean, horrible. Gosh. I mean, we're talking about 4 days of there being no power and stuff.
It was longer than that. I think it was like 6 or 7 days.
Yeah, but after
Food
3 days,
rotting.
you're being told, there's no electricity, and electricity is how the washrooms run and so forth. So if you're going to poop into these plastic bags that we're going to be giving out to each room. And one of the people that are interviewing, he's like, I'm not going to fucking poop in no bag. And so for 3-4 days, he's holding it. And finally, he's got to go, and he's looking for where to go. It is fascinating and a well done documentary, and the Carnival cruise company has a lot of explaining to do.
I went on Carnival and I had a good experience on Carnival, but I did you? It's hard not to get seasick.
Yeah, that's why I won't go.
Yeah.
That's
Cliff,
why I won't go.
I have to disagree with the cruise ships. Don't rock much unless there's bad weather. It's just they rock always. It's just a matter of how much you notice it.
Yep.
The one I went on, it was only a 6-day cruise. It was 2 days out, 1 day docked, 2 days back. So I guess really only 5 days, but it was 6 days, whatever. But one of those days at sea, I mean, beautiful weather, but we had about a 25-mile-an-hour cross breeze, and the ship was going like this the entire time. I mean, I wanted to do one of the panels that day. Because it wasn't, I mean, and to be fair, the other days I didn't notice it much at all, but the one day I did, like I said, there was that 25-mile-an-hour cross breeze, and I was up on like the 12th to 13th deck, and it was like a 15 deck boat, so pretty close to the top, and it's rocking so hard that where I'm standing, I'm looking out the window, and it rocks one way and I see nothing but water, and it rocks the other way and I see nothing but clouds, and it rocks the other way. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. I can't do that anymore. I fucking do a sit up and I start getting dizzy.
There's a lot of good things about the cruise. I mean, We had a steward that was like our person. He took care of the area, rooms around where we were.
Yeah.
And his name was Jaran from like Thailand.
Huh?
And he when I told him I was seasick, he ordered the medicine. They sent it to my room and stuff.
Mhm.
And the food in the dining room was excellent. It's like gourmet every night. Whatever you wanted to order, you could order.
Yeah.
Yes, that was
the
very cool.
The buffet sucked.
Oh, really?
I thought it was okay.
It was okay, but it's just.
I think I actually went on a
Golden
lower
Corral.
quality cruise line than you did too. So
Yeah, I went on the lowest quality too, but we went to Half Moon Key, which I got to say is probably one of the it's the most beautiful beach I've ever been to, at least one of them.
Mhm.
In Bahamas, Half Moon Key. It's like the Carnival private island.
Mhm.
Fantastic beach, just beautiful white sand, turquoise
Nice.
water, easy, calm waves and stuff. No high waves or anything like that. And then it was beautiful inside. They had just refurbished it a few years earlier, and it was all like impressionist and surrealist painters. It was the theme, so they had like Degas and Picasso and
Nice.
Chagall and all these like in the style of all the artwork, and it was beautiful. And then the show was fantastic. It was a tribute to 80s music, so it was like all the great songs of the 80s, and they did like a medley and dance the young performers.
did they play anything, or was it
It
just
was
silent
it
for
was
30 minutes?
dancing and they played the songs.
Well, because you
sang.
said
Some of them
great
were
songs.
singers.
You said great songs of the 80s, and I'm just
Yeah.
trying to think of the 3 that they would have played.
Yeah, you didn't grow up in that era, but there's some.
No, I
fantastic
really
ones.
didn't.
Yeah. 80s, some fantastic songs.
It's my least favorite decade of music.
Yeah.
That's all. Not to say that
Yeah.
it didn't have its bangers, it didn't have some great artists come out of it, but it's my least favorite decade of music.
The 70s for me is probably the best of all the music.
Yeah.
Yeah,
70s
it's
was
hard.
amazing.
It's hard for me to pick an era because each era has had a profound influence on my
Yeah.
life. But I would probably say the '60s. Growing up in an apartment in New York, where we were living with my grandmother and her 2 oldest sons, the oldest one was a big Beatles fan, and so he was always playing Beatles in the apartment, and the other one was a Motown fan, and he was always playing Motown. So that's when I'm 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, that's what I'm listening to, Motown and the Beatles. And so that had a major influence. And then I also spiced that in with Latin music and salsa music and so forth. Now I before we do anything else, I want to play this video because Mr. Shorty sent me this video. He lost his dog, and here's
did the
some
dog?
Enzo, go get the paper. Get the paper. Go get the paper. Go get the paper.
Go get the paper.
Go get it.
Good boy. Get the paper.
Go get the paper.
Good boy. Good boy. Get the paper.
Get it, boy. Get the paper.
Good boy. Come on, bring it.
Good boy. Bring it here.
Good boy.
Bring it here.
Good boy.
Good boy. Good boy. Drop it. Good boy.
That's a good boy.
Good boy. Good boy.
My heart breaks when I see that. I got a dog who is nearing his end, and when you have a dog that listens to what you say, it even doesn't listen to what you say. You love him. It's a fucking member of the family.
Yeah.
And so to lose a pet is a tough thing. Thank you for sharing that video, Mr. Shorty.
Yep.
It's interesting you say that, Mr. Shorty, because my dog never joins me for these podcasts, and he's been under my desk this entire show tonight. So it's almost like he knew.
Yeah. How old is your dog, Zim?
He's 12.
He's 12. So he's got a few years guaranteed with us unless something terrible happens. And we'd love to see him on camera if that's possible. Come on, Charlie. Is that his name, Charlie?
Yeah, he's sleeping. He doesn't want any part of it.
Why
He's a grumpy old
Charlie?
Man. I don't know. My wife got him as a puppy. You know, we've not been together as long as she's had this dog. She tells me the story all the time. She went to pick him up. She didn't really have a name in mind when she went, and she left, and she was like, he feels like a Charlie. I think that's a Charlie.
I love it.
He's
Tooch,
Charlie.
You don't have a pet currently, right?
We have a cat. I wish we had the dog.
Yeah, but you've had the dogs before, right?
Yeah, I've had dogs. Yeah, a lot of dogs too. But I mean, my wife would travel a lot at the beginning of our marriage, you know, so it's like easy to just leave the cat. You know, it self feeder, self water, couple litter boxes, and it's good for 7 days. You know, and now the cat's going to be 15, and she has become epileptic, so she has medicine. So we take her to this cat hotel in Ankeny, Iowa, and it's like $30 a night. It's not bad. They'll brush her, you know, give her medicine, feed her, and all that stuff. And you know, we're taking her there, and you can watch in a camera in the room, and it's cool. The cat's just like sleeping the whole time. It's like totally depressed because we abandoned her, you know, and stuff. And we were up there, and the girl's like, "Yeah, you can bring her back to the room if you want." They have like, I don't know, 10 rooms. So like they're nice rooms. They're like 5 by 5. With like 10-foot ceilings. They have all these cat climber things inside of them. So it's not like they're in a little tiny cage.
Yeah.
You know, so it's nice. They have like room and stuff, but our cat's old, you know, and she doesn't really play much anymore by herself. She'll play with kids here and stuff. But we were looking in some of the other rooms, the other cat, man. There was this one beautiful cat. It was just like sitting at the door looking up at us. It was like big, and it was like perfectly white, long hair and blue eyes, and it just stood there, you know, like majestic. My wife was like, "Oh my God, the cat is so beautiful," you know, and it didn't even move. It was just like, I know I'm fucking beautiful, you know, it's like sitting in the room and stuff. Now my wife wants to get one like that one. So I'm like looking around. I don't think I can find them. They're like $3,000.
Don't do that. Don't do
no
that.
way. I'm like, we're gonna find one like that's, you know, someone's giving away.
Yes.
You know, but yeah, I don't know.
Everything else, you should be shopping for bargains.
Exactly.
I mean, I love pets and so forth, but man, you talk about a responsibility. Geez. And our dog right now clearly is in the final stages of life. You know, that doesn't have much power in his back legs, 85% blind, probably 95% deaf, and so forth, and has Cushing's disease. And so she's got all of these growths throughout his body. And we love the dog, but at the same time, it's like, you know, maybe it's time. Just like, you know, Tooch lost his mom recently. I lost my mom a year ago, and it was time. You know, she told us, my mom said, "I want to go." All right, honey, you're gonna go. You are gonna go. So it's tough. It's tough. Pets are part of the family, and so Mr. Shorty, my heart goes out to you, and I really feel like what you've touched on is something that I'm going to be experiencing very soon, and I know that Zim and Tooch in their coming years will experience similar feelings. So
I'd like to get a dog. It's just hard if you want to travel and stuff. You got to find someone to take the dog, or
it's a massive responsibility. Yeah, exactly. And then when you put the dog in a kennel, you know, there comes all sorts of exactly unknowns with that, you know, and it's nice when you can rely on a family member to dog sit, but that's not an easy task for anybody. And so anyway,
you can't leave them outside either, because like if it's like 86 or above, they don't have any way to cool themselves down. You know, they don't sweat. Jeez. You know, they pant to cool down. So I mean, it's like you can't leave them outside all day or nothing. You know.
My dog's been doing some heavy panting, and I'm talking about just taking him outside in the front yard so he can pee, and he comes in out.
Yeah, they're trying to cool down. It's too hot. Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
By the way, this is what I've been drinking tonight, fellas.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. You know,
round one, is that the?
I don't know what the fuck it's called, but it's
little bourbon. Bourbon. Yeah.
Bourbon, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, bourbon is the best. I mean, it's just
Come on, Tooch, you know it's the best.
Bourbon is the best. It's just-
Zim, what
Well,
are you been
I started
drinking?
with one of these
What is
because
that? Sam Adams.
Yep, Sam Adams Summer Ale.
Okay,
Yeah.
those are
Just
good. Yep,
because
love
it's
those.
I don't know, it's a nice easy drinker on these warmer
Easy
nights.
drinking. Yeah. Oh, that reminds me. Although I went to on this trip in Ogallala, Nebraska, which is like western town.
Yeah,
Had the long
Good spot.
history and stuff. And like I said, they did a dinner show with these kids singing and dancing and stuff. I go, I have a beer. The guy brings me like a gigantic mug, 32 ounces, man. I'm like, what the fuck? I don't know. He's like, standard is 32 ounces. I'm like,
Nebraska is the west of the Midwest, all right?
Yeah.
And they need to remind you that it's still the Midwest. And they're going to do that by getting you drunk enough to agree that it's the Midwest.
I had bull fries too, Zim.
Bull fries?
Yeah, Rocky Mountain oysters.
Rocky Mountain oysters. Okay.
Does Aldo know Rocky? There's like there's a movie with Chevy Chase where he's just eating something like, tell him it's bull's testicles.
It's one of the
I
vacation
remember that,
movies,
yeah.
I think.
Well, I don't remember what movie it was. It was some movie with Chevy Chase. And I think Gina Davis, I want to say, but my wife and I were like, how was like telling I was telling the waitress, my wife really likes seafood. I think I'm gonna order her though. She was like, don't you dare. I was like, I'm just kidding. She knows what it is. We just want to try it. It was okay. It was like a chicken nugget, basically.
Cool stuff.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's wrap up this show.
I sipped on some bourbon with you too, alongside.
Nice.
Jim Beam Winter Reserve. I don't know.
All right, nice.
It was cheap. It's got notes of vanilla and cinnamon. It says
that's exactly what I want in my bourbon. Hints of vanilla, caramel, and cinnamon. Absolutely,
spice. That's why I like rye. It's spicy.
Yeah.
If you
I don't like the spiciness. I like the sweetness the older I get. I used to like the bite of the spiciness. I used to drink a lot of Scotch and Irish whiskeys, but
Angel's Envy. Have you had that one?
I love it.
Angel's Envy is fantastic. They have the bourbon aged in port casks, really good.
Yes.
And that's the standard one. And then they have a rye one aged in rum casks. Man, it's so good. It's like sweet and spicy.
So they have and follow me on this. They have Malort aged in whiskey barrels now.
Okay.
And I've got a friend.
Not a fan of Malort, but if it's aged in other stuff, I might.
Come on, it only makes it worse.
Anyway, nothing can improve on that.
I have a friend coming out in a couple weeks, and he's agreed to get this barrel aged Malort with me. So we're gonna try it in a couple weeks. He will be here in
video.
Well, I was gonna say he will be here in my basement with me. If I continue to join the show at that point, I might take the week off depending on what we have going on with him. But if he's around and willing to come on, I'm gonna throw this out there. I was gonna save this for off air, but what the hell? He's super fun, super knowledgeable about pop culture, doesn't know shit about the Chicago Bears. So,
love it.
At any rate,
does he gamble?
Although you don't like Malort.
You know what? I'll tell you what. We'll go to the casinos beforehand just to make sure.
Okay. Because if he gambles and doesn't know anything about the Bears, I want to meet him.
All right. You know what?
I'm going to make some money.
At any rate, maybe I can convince him to come on the show and do a Malort.
Please do. With me. Yeah, that would be fun. That would be a hell of a lot of fun.
Because he's had Malort before. I've dragged him down to the sewers with me on that one, and he has.
I got to tell you, I've never tasted it.
You really haven't?
I have not. No.
All right. When I come out,
medicine.
When I come out, you are
I'll
far.
Do it.
Look, I have gotten and pretty much everybody in my life except for my wife to taste Malort. She said I had one chance and it was on our wedding night. She said on our wedding night she would do a shot of Malort and I forgot to bring it. So you know what? That's on me.
That is on you.
That sounds like something.
But I don't understand what the allure is. If everybody says it tastes awful, why are you doing it? I don't understand that.
I don't know.
First off, it's kind of a rite of passage amongst millennial
Yeah, it's got to be
Chicagoans.
a generation that I'm not a part of because I never heard of it growing up, and
It's
I
a
did a lot
Chicago
of fucking
thing.
drinking.
Well, it's very funny. I distinctly remember my first shot because I went out with my cousin. It was the first time I went out in the city of Chicago after turning 21. I went out with my cousin. He said his buddy was having a house party. We were gonna go hang out there. We went over there, fucking dead. Nobody's there. His buddy's sitting on the couch watching the lingerie football league alone.
I've done
I'm like,
that.
God damn, this doesn't get more depressing. They say, hey,
It
some
was
of our
invented in Chicago, Malort.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard
So-
that.
Malort was invented in Chicago during Prohibition because it was the one thing that they could distill in the city limits that wouldn't be caught by anybody else. So the bootleggers could pass it around really easy. It's made from wormwood. So in that sense, it has a very absinthe sort of flavor, but like a sour absinthe kind of flavor, a very grassy and sour absinthe flavor. So that anise, that licorice flavor, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wormwood,
So,
it's denatured wormwood because the other wormwood has hallucinogenic properties, like for absinthe.
So,
Okay.
so anyway, we're at this party that's not a party, and his buddy goes, well, hey, we have some friends, down at the bar downstairs, because in Chicago, there's always a bar downstairs.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So we go to the bar downstairs, and there's a handful of friends there. I don't know any of these people. I'm just there with my cousin because he said he knew some places. And he hands me a shot and says, here you go. Have at it. And I'm 21. I didn't think twice about it. I downed the shot. And I go, what the fuck? He goes, congratulations. You just did your first shot of Malort. You're a Chicagoan.
I love it.
I was like, holy shit. You can't take somebody by surprise like that. He goes, that's the whole point. If I told you what it was, you wouldn't have done it.
Probably not. See, that's the interesting thing is maybe it's like a cultural thing because that sounds like a Rush Street kind of thing, or Chicago neighborhood in the north side kind of thing. I don't recall hearing the name Malort in any of the more Hispanic inner city type bars that I frequented.
It's white people shit for sure.
Swedish,
Thank you.
It's like Andersonville Swedish.
That would make a mistake. While I was drinking Puerto Rican Bacardi rum, you guys were drinking Malort. Okay, I get it. I get it. Sure,
but no,
truly.
every time I go back to Chicago, it's one of the first stops I make. Whatever corner bar, with the old style sign hanging outside. I go in, I get a shot of Malort, I go about my day. But I just
love it. Well,
it's one thing to take a shot of Malort; it's another to do a shot of Malort in Chicago. You know,
okay.
So it's one of my stops every time I go.
Well, hopefully
you're gonna bring a little bit for Aldo when you come out to Chicago.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. So my local, well, not my local liquor store, but one of the liquor stores here in town I know sells shooters, so I can always bring it with. But I mean, in Chicago, it shouldn't be very hard to find either.
No.
I can just bring some up to you, whenever we get together. And if we got to do shots in the parking lot like the old days, we will.
There's a Benny's in every suburb.
Exactly.
That's right. And they are they should be sponsors of this show. By the way, speaking of sponsors of this show, here's one. Mr. Shirley, how are you, brother?
I have a terrible
Hey.
it looks like. I apologize. I just wanted to say I'm gonna make it quick. I love you guys so much. You guys
We love you.
Thank you for sharing that video. What a terrible. This is awful.
What happened to you're in low res tonight?
I know. I don't know what's going on right now.
It's like, are you using your Commodore 64?
It doesn't matter. Here, it doesn't matter. I'm going to turn it off. You can just listen to me. I just want to tell you guys, I love you guys. I so appreciate you guys. Thank you for sharing the video. Thank you for making my night better tonight in a day that's been awful. Learning about my dog. And I love you guys and appreciate you guys. And cheers to you. Keep up the great work. You guys are fucking all awesome together. I love you guys. Love you, Podfather. And I'm out.
Love
Cheers.
you, brother. That is my man, Mr. Shorty. He is a good friend. I cherish his friendship, and I will always promote what he's doing over at Bears Country Productions. We are kind of sister networks. So make sure you check him out Thursday night here, not here, but on his YouTube channel, Bears Country Productions.
Look, I wouldn't be on this show without Mr. Shorty. He reached out to me, probably last year to talk some Bears on his programming. And it kind of reignited that spark for me to continue to talk Bears and not just talk baseball all the time. And yeah, Shorty, I'm super glad to see you in the chat every week. I'm super glad to have you on to debate the points whenever you do come on and join us. And I promise there'll be more Bears talk as the season gets closer and gets rolling. But you have to deal with whatever this show has been during the off season. Because let's be real, on July 7th, July 9th, what is there to talk about the Bears? It's all conjecture at this point.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. But I do push back a little bit. I always think that there's something to talk about regarding the Chicago Bears, but it might not necessarily be new things to talk about. I mean, I can talk about the 85 Chicago Bears, for hours, because of what it meant to me personally. I think what it meant to NFL history, what it meant to Chicago sports, and so forth. And I'd love to hear, how Zim was at the time, or what he learned after the Super Bowl of 85, 86. And, and we'll go through this. I think, maybe next week we'll dedicate the show to the 85 Super Bowl Bears. And I'd love to hear what Cliff and Mr. Shorty and everyone else who joins us live in the chat have to share about that particular team, because that was a very, very special team in NFL history. There was not a team like that was like the Beatles of the NFL. It was the 85 Chicago Bears. Incredible.
Mr. Shorty left.
Mr. Shorty did leave.
Oh, and he's back.
There he is.
He's back. It's like if his camera wasn't working, we've got this one, Aldo.
That's right. That is our sponsor. Drippy Dicks. You ever had that problem, Zim, where you go to the washroom and all of a sudden, Jesus, you put the dick away, but fucking still shit's coming out of it?
Wait till you're in your late 50s. Right? Aldo.
Oh my gosh.
My scaring me.
My wife has retired.
Am I done peeing? I'm not done.
That's right. I'm not done.
What the hell?
I am like 6 feet away from the bathroom and I'm still fucking peeing. What's going on here? My wife has been doing my laundry since she retired about almost 12 months ago. And she's been asking me lately, what the hell's going on with your underwear? And I'm always honest with her. I say, well, it's one of two things. It's either drippy dicks or semen.
I'm honest too. She says, what's going on with your underwear? I say, I don't fucking know.
That's the age that you're at. That's why. Dude, go ahead.
Although we're going to get you some pair of black boxer briefs.
Oh, doesn't help.
No trouble after that.
I don't know about that.
Look, I invested in a bidet, and the answer gets asked quite less frequently now. So at least there's that.
And that's supposed to be the standard.
Yeah, exactly. I do the bidet in the shower. I've got, the shower thing that comes from over, but I also have a hand one, And so I put that
the hand one's too close to it's too close to a prostate exam.
Yeah.
The bidet is nice and gentle, all right?
You're right about that.
Yeah, the bathrooms in the Philippines, they all have either the bidet or the sprayer.
Well, and they make them so conveniently nowadays, and it's life changing. It makes
I wish they had it more here, more common in the
I
US.
agree.
You can pick one up for yourself for like $60 nowadays. It just attaches to your toilet. You don't have to do any plumbing.
The sprayer,
or anything.
you mean, right? The sprayer.
Yeah. No, I mean literally a thing.
Bidet?
The thing I've got, it sits on my toilet seat. There's a little knob next to me when I use it, and I just turn it on and I turn it off, and it keeps me clean and it keeps me feeling better. And look, all I have to say for anybody who has an argument against a bidet, if you had human shit on your wall Would you take a dry piece of paper, wipe it off, and just
Yeah.
call it good?
No.
No.
Nope.
So why is that acceptable for your ass?
The
you
paper,
know?
I totally
toilet
agree.
paper's for wiping down the bowl.
Right.
You know, it's not supposed to be for wiping your ass.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I have been having problems taking a shit. And when it finally comes, it's that fucking shit that just sticks to the porcelain, and you gotta fucking take the brush out and clean it and throw the spray in there and flush 15 times, you know, and that shit is sticking to the walls of my canal. And finally, when it comes out, it sticks to the walls of the porcelain bowl.
Yep.
So I got fucking issues.
Soft stool.
Soft stool. Whatever.
Well, it's like a lot of medications will do that, you know.
Yeah. Well,
I had the same problem. Wiping forever. You're just like, God damn it.
yes, Tooch.
It's the worst. That's why you gotta get a bidet. You know, it's like nice, clean it out.
Well, I'm telling you, that's why I take a shower and I put that fucking thing in the pulsating thing and I stick it up my ass.
Right up there.
Now we're really bearing our souls.
Oh yeah.
That's the name of the show.
More like bearing our holes, but you know.
Indeed. All right, guys, it is time to say our final words, and I will start with you, Steven Zimmerman, your first show as the official member, co-host of Bear Their Souls. What do you got to say?
Well, hey, shout out to you guys. Shout out to pink fluffy unicorns dancing on a rainbow. This shit is not actually that bad. I'm not gonna lie. This is I didn't know what to expect. It says ale brewed with lemons, blueberries, and lactose sugar. All right, well, it's something. Looks like My Little Pony on the front. Phil would have had a field day with this.
Indeed.
But hey, a big shout out to you guys for having me on. Big shout out to Mr. Shorty. As I already said, I wouldn't be here without him, and I really feel for him and what he's going through. You know, I might not be much of a dog person or a pet person, but it still sucks to lose something you love, whether it's a living thing or not. So makes it all the harder when you have that really deep connection. So you know, my heart goes out to him. I really hope that I'm not going to make the gesture that goes with those words, but my heart goes out to him. And I really hope that he finds some peace with all of it because it is hard and it does take time to go through. In addition to that, you know, a big shout out to my wife who I kind of caught her off guard today by telling her like, oh yeah, this is going to be a weekly thing now. And she was like, that's not what you said. And I was like, well, now I am saying it. So
send me your address. I'll send the flowers.
There you go. So, you know, just I have to thank her because without her, I wouldn't be able to do this. I wouldn't have this house that I'm in to be able to do this. I wouldn't have the camera that I have to have such a beautiful picture. I wouldn't have the computer that I have in order to be able to even do the show. I think I'd have the microphone. That's about it. So, but you know, a big shout out to her. She supports me in everything that I do, and I wouldn't be able to do any of it without her. You know, my kids are what keeps me going every day. It's what gave me the encouragement to book this trip out to Chicago that inevitably has me going to Bears training camp, because I'll be honest, you know, Bears training camp's for me, but I'm so excited to get to share that opportunity with them. I was thinking about it this morning, thinking about the opportunity of like, man, I would have gone crazy as a kid for the opportunity to go to Chicago Bears practice, just knowing that it was my dad's favorite team and getting to meet the players that he roots for. And I don't know, maybe it would have been different because at that point in time, the players weren't really as worth rooting for as they are now. But at the same time, some of those players were the same guys that were on the 06 roster that made the Super Bowl. So maybe it would have been amazing. And at the same time, I'm just hoping that doing this and showing them this opportunity instills that love of the game in them that we have in the three of us, that inspires them to go out and play and continue to do it and to find some kind of passion in their own lives, whether it's football or something else, you know, because that's what it's all about, right? If you're not passionate about something, it's not a life worth living. So
I love it.
Yeah, at the end of the day, just a big shout out to you guys for granting me this opportunity, to helping me keep this flame stoked in my life, and allowing me an outlet to go through all of it. And I would love to, as long as we're talking about having potential future guest stars on, I would love to have a South Burbs Hitmen reunion here on the show. You know, I know Joe can tack ad hominem for days about the Chicago Bears. Vinny gets paid to do it. Vinny, I'm sorry, we probably can't pay you to do it, but I can pay you in my time. All right. So
we can pay him in many different ways, but not U.S. currency.
Yeah.
Zim, very, very, very well said. I think you captured the essence of what we do here at the Barroom Network, which is to share our fandom with one another and respect the fandom of each and every one of us. We all have one common driving passion, and that is in the Chicago Bears. Of course, family and so forth. But when you're talking about something specifically, it is the team known as the Chicago Bears. Tooch, you got something to offer as nearly inspiring and poetic as Zim just did?
Can you pull up that song though, "Pink Fluffy Unicorns" by Andrew Huang? I swear that there's a song because I've heard it before.
What is it again?
"Pink Fluffy Unicorns Dancing on Rainbows" by Andrew Huang, Huang.
Interesting.
I know I've heard it before because my kids have played it on YouTube.
Oh yeah, I see it here coming up. Oh my goodness. This is going to be good, guys. See if we can get past the commercial. Coming. Oops. They got this new layout here on StreamYard, and it's easy to make a mistake. But here it comes. Correct me if I'm wrong on this.
Yep, I swear I've heard this before.
Pink fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows. Pink fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows. Pink fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows. Pink fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows.
Let's test your knowledge and see what you've learned so far. What color are the unicorns? Pink! Where are they dancing? Rainbow!
All righty.
Yep, I told you there was. It's
exactly what's on the can.
Yep. I knew it was a song. I knew I'd heard my girls playing that song before.
Oh, that's insane. I had no idea. Again, I just saw a can that said "Pink Fluffy Unicorn." I was like, I don't know. I gotta try it.
You know how the conservatives in this country are always talking about how there's this feminization of men in this country? That proves that they are correct.
I don't know anything about that. Let me just tie my hair up real quick.
Welcome aboard, Zim. Like I said in Bears State of Affairs, I'm hoping that Aldo and myself and Bears fans and we can start preparing for the Bears to be good. You know, I want to prepare for them to be good. You know, I don't. I'm tired of 7 years of bad. So that's my shout out for tonight. I want Bears fans to start preparing for the Bears to be good. I think it's time, Aldo.
I think you're absolutely right, and I am so happy that we're going to cover this 2025 season through the eyes and ears of Johnny Santucci, Steven Zimmerman, and myself. The three of us will be the key hosts for Bare Their Souls, but it's also going to be the voice of so many other barflies and guests that we're having and so forth. And so our goal here is to present this 2025 season through our prism, but also amplify your thoughts and pay attention to them. And I'm really excited about the creative possibilities as producers and content creators that we're going to be presenting to you people who are loyal to us. Really, really. And Chris is one of the most
Waking up-
loyal person. And
Waking up in the morning to pink fluffy
That's
unicorns in England.
that's right. That's
Poor
right.
guy.
And Chris just woke up, and where is he's in Leeds, if I
Yep.
remember correctly.
Yep.
Yeah, and so he's listening to that weird video I just played. But and Chris, I can't wait to have you on as a guest on upcoming show. And I'm just so stoked. I feel so effing happy that the iteration of this show is where it's at, and what it can become is thrilling to me as a content creator, as a lover of the Chicago Bears, and as the president of the Barroom Network and executive producer of this show. Love you guys. Tooch,
Yep.
you
Same
are
here.
blood to me. Steven Zimmerman, you're becoming like a stepchild to me.
He's like a radio son too.
He really is.
Yeah.
Yes. And one of the things that I want to talk about with you, Zim, on an upcoming show is just a little bit about the evolution of our friendship, which, there's been peaks and valleys and so forth. And I think it might be interesting to people. So we'll present that as the weeks go on.
Yeah, the
And
history of Aldo and Zim.
yeah, I think that's going to be fun. And we'll embellish it, of course. We'll talk about the strippers that we never really got to finger fuck or anything like that.
Yeah, of course. Do you still have any of those old videos I used to post for the bar room? Because I think I actually just deleted a whole bunch of them.
I think I might have them on one of my computers. I will dig around and
You
try
can
to
delete
share
those
this.
too. That's totally fine.
No, I think it would be a gas for us to look at those and have a good blast.
You want to talk about a blast from the past? You remember the Tick Split sponsorship? I'm pretty sure they
yes.
did a jingle contest. I'm pretty sure I still have that saved somewhere.
Oh, you got to bring that next week.
And you
gotta
know
bring
what?
that.
I wonder. I gotta see if I can dig it up. But the parody song that I wrote about Phil, I gotta see if I can find it.
Oh, I remember that.
It was actually not bad.
Yes. And you know what? I was actually, as I was thinking about things I might want to say for this show, one of the things was, Phil Atoshin and the Barroom Network, he had an important part in shaping the identity.
He was a
of the
musical
show.
genius. So
He
is.
really is and was. I'm assuming that he
talented.
still is. Very, very talented. And I'm going to take credit for this. I was the one that kind of encouraged him. Weren't you? You did rap music? I think it was more of a dare. Yeah. Well, if you're really, really serious about this, let's hear some of it. And then we did. It was like, this fucking shit is good.
Yeah, he was excellent.
Yeah. So
Really
Zim
was.
is not here as a replacement to Phil Atoshin, but he
No, not
is
by any
here
means.
to add his own special voice, just like Phil did and Shane did and everyone else who's been a part of the Barroom Network in the past. We're going to create new voices here and present new voices, I should say, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be a blast. So with that, I wish I had time to update the closing credits, but I didn't. So, but what I will do instead, just say is that Tooch is the co-host, co-producer, Zim, co-host, co-producer. I am the executive producer and co-host. And here, once again, is our welcome to Steven Zim Zim.
Zimmerman and the hard rockin' style. Undiscovered music genius. Zimmerman and the Chicago